Oh, hello there, Greg.
Oh, hey there.
Welcome,
Tim,
to the first ever episode 64 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. We're doing something a little bit differently.
A little bit different. Why not
Just
shake it up,
bit.
as the kids say?
We only have some of the coolest dudes in video games.
Half the
here.
coolest dudes in video games are here.
But you'll be seeing them all together throughout the week. This episode's different because we did a bunch of interviews at GDC,
Right.
2016.
Right.
We interviewed a whole bunch of cool people, and we're like, let's make this a Gamescast.
Right, I
An
think
extra long Gamescast.
The biggest thing we took away from GDC 2015, which is Kind of Funny's first GDC, is that we did all this awesome content on Twitch live, and then it went into the ether, and not everybody saw these interviews. So this time around, we went in and approached it the way we approached all the streams we did for Kind of Funny the animated series, where we did it and we were live the entire day, but broke the day up, and these interviews packaged them as, what's up everybody, welcome to youtube.com. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that'll live in the annals of history. But it means 5 topics for you guys rather than your regular 4.
Yeah.
Because you're getting 5 starting on Sunday today. But
So
if
you're
they
still
wanted the
getting
whole
it
episode early.
broken up day by day, but now it's Sunday through Thursday instead of Monday through Thursday over at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. You know, got to get the rigmarole.
Right.
Got to get it out
And if they
there.
want it early, they go
They
to...
go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, throw some money our way, and they can get stuff early, and that'll be great. You're probably one of those people that did that.
You already there?
Is
Are
this
you
one
already
worth
doing
$1?
that? Yeah, this one's totally... This
was
is
definitely worth it.
5
This one-
topics from the biggest names in video game development?
no,
Yeah, it's worth the
we're
$1,
big.
you punks.
This one's going to be awesome. So, who are we going to start off with, Greg?
I figured we'd go big and start with what was the final interview of GDC, Cliff Blazinski from Boss Key.
Yeah, there
Were
you
you
go.
part of that one? It was Colin.
It was me and Colin talking
Yeah.
to him. And honestly, I think what you guys are about to see will change you. No jokes. One of the best interviews I've ever been a part of.
Oh, sure. Cliff's
Very
awesome.
fascinating motherfucker.
Yeah.
He knows his shit and
Yeah.
his ideas of where the industry's at and VR and all this stuff. Enjoy. What's up, guys? I'm Tim Gettys. This is Colin Moriarty. And over there, the one and only Cliff Blazinski. Yay.
Since Greg's not here, I'm gonna have to do the Greg
The
lean back.
lean back.
I'm kind of happy Greg's on here because he's just so fucking intense.
I know
Yeah.
he is. He's super.
He's
intense.
off.
He's just like, can't
winning
keep up with that
awards and
level. He's
shit.
just, and I'm like, nah.
Cliffy, how's it going?
It's going great, man. We had a panel today.
How did it go?
Well, we announced, not to plug too much and too quickly, that our new game Lawbreakers is coming to Steam exclusively, which is kind of a no-brainer when you really think about it. Like, well, we're going to put it on Origin, no offense. And then we also announced we're not going to do free-to-play with the game.
Really? So that's a huge change.
We were initially thinking free-to-play, and the more we dug in, the more we realized we weren't thinking about how to make the best game possible. We were always just worried about how are we going to monetize this. How are we going to monetize? I'm just like, dude, I want to make a great game that hopefully people want to throw some money at and they enjoy, right? So I'm looking, there's got to be a gray area between, free-to-play sleaziness and $60 disc-based. There's, maybe there's an impulse, initial gate in there, and maybe some interesting microtrans inside the game, but, we're kind of rethinking and upending that whole model because I announced the studio, and first off, people are like, Nexon? Really, Nexon? And I'm like, well, yeah, they make Kart Rider, but, they have some money, and they want to make Western games, and that's what I do. I make shooty Western games, and
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, not like Wild West. Anyway, and so and then the other thing was free to play. Like, you lost me at free to play, and I'm like, well, League is free. Like, come on, man. And so we want to have a halfway point with it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's kind of an honest moment, like of reflection to be like this. Maybe you benefit more from selling the game.
It's a kind of a meta statement on developing in 2016 and beyond, where you kind of. I stopped lying when I hit like 25 because I realized like I couldn't keep up with what I told anybody, so I might as well just be myself and be fucking honest with everyone. And so it's the same thing with game development. It's like just be you, be straight up. Be as honest as you can be with your community, and they'll trust you back. And occasionally they'll still yell at you because they care, or they'll call you horrible names on social media, but. If they show up and they play the game, and they're talking about it. That means you're doing something right.
Absolutely. What's the for people that aren't familiar with the Lawbreakers? What's the elevator pitch for it?
So it's takes place in the near future where there's been a massive earthquake, and the people have managed to rebuild, however, and gravity just gets funky. There's areas with no gravity. There's areas with increased gravity. Areas with inverted gravity, as well as humanity learning how to kind of harness these powers. So it's a character-based first-person shooter that's probably going to be like M-rated. Right now the trend is for kind of these Overwatch and Battleborn games that are very colorful and they're cool. I'll play the shit out of them. Yeah, and so I'm not saying we're going to go full war as hell kind of Gears and Killzone era from 10 years ago, but there's got to be a halfway point where we're going to be the grown-up version of that. They're going to be like kind of the G-rated ones, and we're going to be like the R-rated one in that version. And basically, all these questions that I asked about the verbs you're doing in the game as you're playing as these characters, you grappling hooks and jetpacks and double jumps and side dodges and inverting gravity yourself and creating zero-G pockets and basically just what verbs can you do in the environment with game types that yield maximum drama to make just a fun team-based 5v5 first-person shooter. That's kind of the super, super high level.
Awesome.
Of course, more to it. There always is.
And the game, you said the game's coming exclusively to Steam.
Yep.
Your heritage obviously is on PC, but you've been more well known.
My heritage is actually Polish.
Well, literal, yes, your literal heritage.
Well,
But
that's the thing is when I was doing, so the PC was always in a state of flux. So that's the beauty of the PC.
Right.
So back in the day, we started on PC with Epic and whatnot in shareware days. I'm old. And then, you decided to do console stuff for a while with Gears. And then I decided to return to PC. And when Gears was out, the Steam wasn't the juggernaut that it is, and PC games are making the transition from boxed to all digital, which was a bit of a bumpy one, and piracy was relatively high. I saw the numbers. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, I know there's too much piracy in the PC, in which PC gamers get very defensive, rightfully, because everyone always attacks their platform, even though it's pretty much the shit. It's amazing. And it's all I play things on right now is my PC. And so, and then deciding to just do something on PC because Steam has how many people installed base now? Like, it's huge. And, Valve, we've been talking to Valve and, Valve could use a shooter like this on their platform to kind of supplement the tremendous juggernauts that are, Dota and, CSGO and all that, right? So it's like, if you can find somebody like a Valve that you can kind of get an agreement with, and hopefully get all sorts of Vive dev kits to play with. Have you been over there at all? Or you just guys been nonstop over
We've
here?
been nonstop here.
I've not been to the
So
portal.
Chet from Valve is like this, Cyrus from the Warriors of VR, but by this very soft way about him. And he's like this kind of VR, in a good way, cult leader. Where there's all these indie devs doing all these awesome things with the Vive, and he's kind of leading the charge. And Oculus and Palm are also, and there's these figureheads of this new world order of what VR could be. And I personally love it. I think it's great. They're all sharing dev secrets on how to do traversal in VR, and how to deal with motion sickness, or how can you move around seated versus standing VR. What are the best techniques and ways to solve these kinds of problems. It feels very communal in a good way.
And that's what's cool about GDC. It's different than all the other shows because that's what it's about. And all I keep hearing from everybody is that all the VR shit, specifically with the Vive, everyone's just like, you gotta try this Star Wars thing. You gotta try this thing. It's gonna blow your mind. And it's cool to see all that
Have you
happen.
seen any of it yet?
Well, I mean, we went to the PlayStation VR.
The PlayStation VR is solid too, man.
Yep.
So they have a very good shot at doing well. It's one of those things the biggest mistake that, Chet and the crew made with the Vive was assuming you needed an entire room for it, which you don't. You can just have it set up at your desk, just like Oculus. So that's one of the issues with it. The other main thing is for case in point, I was visiting, I have a friend who has both the Crescent Bay and the Vive setup. And one of my wife's friends was free on a Saturday, and she's not into games or anything, right? She's not really into tech. She's just a friend of ours. And so we brought her in, sat her down on the floor, and showed her Henry, which is the Oculus Story Studio kind of movie about the hedgehog where you're in the house. And you don't even interact with him, right? But just the sheer delight to look around and see Henry's bed behind you, where you can see his quills sticking out. And he's just this little hedgehog who has no friends, and he just wants a hug for his birthday, and he makes a birthday wish, and maybe something magical will happen, right? And you can tell this is done by ex-Pixar and DreamWorks folks because the animation's just on point. And then put her in Lucky's Tale, which third-person VR games work surprisingly well. And I felt like the first time I played Mario 64 in Lucky's Tale. And then you put her in Tilt Brush as well as Job Simulator. And then just once those goggles come off, there's this thing that I don't even know if they've termed it in VR. It's like VR dissonance, where you spend a little while in VR. When you come back to the real world, it's coming out of the Matrix, you're like, holy shit, where was I? It's really cool. And the other experience I got to do, we posted on social. My friend Tom Ham over at the Create Ad Agency, they made this VR experience to promote the Robert Zemeckis movie The Walk, about which was based on Man on Wire, which is based on that awesome French dude who fired an arrow with a cable and made it top between the World Trade Center towers and tightrope walk the damn things.
Oh my God.
And so basically what they do is they tape a cord on the ground, and you put the Vive on, and they have the headphones on, and they have fans even blowing on you, right? It's like, okay.
Oh no.
Can you do it?
That sounds horrifying.
I made it 3 steps and I had to stop. And I know I play with the Vive extensively. I've done a ton of VR, but when you're standing at the top of a 100-story building and the wind's blowing, you hear the cars all the way down below. It goes against every part of your lizard brain to put your fucking foot out there.
That sounds awesome.
And
I want to do that right now.
It's really cool. And so my wife, of course, she's a little freaked out, but she did that just great. Brought a couple friends over, and varying degrees of success with it. But it's so convincing, and there's still a little bit of that screen door effect. It's not as high res as it can be. It's gonna get better and better and better, and humanity is doomed.
Did you make it across,
Lauren?
Yeah, at the very end, I just ran because I got nervous.
It's not called The Run. And of course, in the back of everyone's head is we're thinking about what happened back in the day with those buildings and everything. It's just this very surreal experience, and it was moving and dark and scary. And that's the thing is, I was talking earlier about when I had a chance when Brendan and Reby came to Epic's office years ago with this device that was duct taped together, and that Palmer made with Carmack, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be big. I just felt something.
Wait, so this just blew my mind for a second. So you physically are walking?
Yeah. So since it's the Vive, it's room size VR. So you're actually, they had the cord taped down, and so it's only about 10 to 15 feet. But you walk, you feel the cord beneath you. You look down, you see completely below you. You can actually tell. I shouldn't have looked down. That was my problem. And you walk to the other side, and you turn around, and you walk back. And people can't do it. I mean, I'm not even that much of afraid of heights. I'm more like an arachnophobe guy.
Yeah.
But this just got me, man.
Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine what they're going to do with that?
The biggest thing about VR is there's a lot of things I could go all day about VR, but one of the things that'll screw VR first is bad and cheap VR. Like people we got one too, and then if it's not VR's not perfect, it'll just make you sick. And there's always gonna be a small percentage of people that it might hit. There's people who get sick in cars all the time and things like that.
There's people who get sick playing Portal.
Yeah, exactly. So the inner ear and whatnot, it's a very complicated thing. But it's all gotten good enough now that the majority of people can use it, and it's worth fucking up your hair and having VR face for a couple hours because it's really that interesting. And the other thing is dumb VR experiences. That's why Oculus has a store that's curated. So it's not just some vomit roller coaster, or it's not just some big dumb cheap scare, because when you're next to a big robot who looks at you in VR, you feel it's right next to you. I did one of these multiplayer games with my wife. I can't remember what it was called on the Vive, where we're back to back and we're shooting robots together, and she's in the other room. But I turn around, I see her, her avatar, moving around behind me, shooting, and of course, first thing we kind of do is try and shoot each other in the head.
Yeah, of course.
Marriage, and and then the other people I put in there, they try to grab the other person and just make out with their avatar, ah.
Yeah, I'm more of that type of person.
Yeah, make love or war, depends on how it is. And so, but feeling her right there in my back, I was like, oh, I'm in your bubble. I'm sorry. And it's just, it wasn't even a very well rendered avatar. It was some stock Unity thing or something. But it was just that you're there. And that's the big thing about VR. There's going to be solitary experiences. There's going to be the social experiences, what I think Zuckerberg believes in regards to, imagine, I'm at my house in Raleigh and we're all sitting here talking and, via the internet, you have an avatar and you have an avatar and all that. It's, if I can play ball with my niece who lives in Orange County and I live in Raleigh, or if I can play hide and go seek with our niece in New Orleans, even though we're in Raleigh, virtually, I mean, it's going to be pretty magical.
Yeah.
How do you think this is all going to shake out with these kind of three major competitors? We were talking to Lauren Lanning earlier. He's of the mind, and I brought it up specifically because at E3 he said PlayStation was going to do it, and that was when I thought it was unintuitive to say PlayStation's the one that's going to succeed. But with the price point being more affordable, the device that you need, the PS4 being probably way more affordable than the rig you need to run Oculus, how do you see it all shaking out?
Well, the first thing people always ask me is 2016 going to be the year of VR, and I said it'll be the year your rich friend has VR. And it's also one of those situations. PlayStation has a great shot at it. I've used the system myself. London Heist is awesome. They got a lot of great experiences. It's really good stuff. It's a great gateway, right? But very, very quickly, the resolutions the next year or two are just going to get higher and higher res. The sensitivity, the calibration, the rendering of your avatars, and it's one of those things. I think it'll be a short-term winner, but I think long-term, you look at Vive and Oculus. Vive, I think, is going to do very, very well if they can shed their, you need an entire room, good luck for the person who spends $4,000 a month in San Francisco having a spare room for this, or a person even in New York or Tokyo, right? Versus Oculus, I think, if I was a betting man, I think it'll go Sony short-term, Oculus long-term, and Vive and HTC somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
more of a specialty thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things I'm a big fan of VR, as I said. I'll defend it to the nines, but people are assuming you have the room. And this is a big assumption depending on, person's socioeconomic status, where they live. There's a lot of factors. Their significant other. What the fuck is this in my house? It's one of those things where we didn't have a TV room many years ago. Even when radio really came about, you see those old black and white photos of people with that big ass radio listening to War of the Worlds. That was the center of their living room. If it's as good as it can be, which I honestly believe it will be, people will find a way. If you're in a small apartment, get the thing installed where the bed can go up in the wall, in the classic movie where the person always winds up in the bed or the old Looney Tunes cartoons. And at the end of the day, and this is going to sound really dumb and sad for humanity, porn.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
can't wait
it's
for that.
so obvious to say that, but It's really like, really? Like, this is what's going to drive this? But it's like there's a lot of lonely people out there, you know, and an entire generation who grew up online that may or may not how to like socially interact as well as the earlier generation. That's just going to be like, this is all I need now.
Yeah. Vibe's doing it already.
That's the thing is I don't think, my gut is saying, from what I know about Sony, I don't think Sony's device will have porn.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Facebook's really careful about what you see on Facebook's feed. However, you know, when it comes to the VR setup, people will find a way for that one. And I just think it's funny that people are having sex right now with 360 cameras on their foreheads.
Yeah. It makes me happy to know that somewhere out there, they're thinking of the little people, you know?
I don't know. I had a buddy of mine was telling me a story about he had a friend who had the Oculus DK2 set up. And he said his spouse came home and he had the headphones on and the headset and pants all the way down, just going to town. And I was like, if I was his wife, I just would have taken my phone and just holiday Christmas card and then punched him in the nuts. But yeah, it's one of those things. The other thing I want to do is, you know, just play with, like, you know, take my friends with the Gear VR and find some sort of VR porn. And, you know, for instance, some of the guy friends that are heterosexual that I'm friends with, you know, take them and put it on where they're like, oh, I'm female, I have boobs. And what's he doing? Oh my God, right? Like, because there's reaction videos and everything in between, right? Just to kind of mess with people's heads a little bit. And again, horror has to be subtle in VR. It has to be just very gentle.
I like how you jump from that to horror.
Well, you know, if I stay in the porn thing too long, it gets weird, man. Then we're talking about, you know, all that. It is what it is. But that's the sad fact is porn drives technology for humanity half the time. So back to horror is jump scares in VR. Terrible idea. You know, one of my friends made a little VR experience a while back where you're in this creepy environment, kind of hanging out. And there's a wall full of like creepy dolls, you know, like the old ones missing an eyeball and stuff, like the little spider one from Toy Story, right? And they're all just sitting there, and you look away and you hear a sound behind you, and there's nothing there. And you look at the wall, and one of the very obvious dolls that was in the front is just gone. And then you turn around at the end of the hallway, the doll's just standing there. Just little things like that are so easy in VR to kind of make the back of your neck stand up, as opposed to just, you know, giant, you know, monster from The Ring pops in your face and makes you tear the headset off and throw it on the ground. It's like, they have a paranormal activity one that's supposed to be pretty good. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Because there's apparently a story, some woman was using it, and she literally tore the Vive headset off and threw it in the ground and smashed it and broke it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So anyway, short-term PC lawbreakers. Long-term, we'll see where VR goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interested. One of the things we were talking about with Donald Mustard yesterday from Chair, I asked Shannon Studstill this from Sony Santa Monica too, and I like, you have a great brain for the industry. Like, you see things and you have a good analytical mind for this stuff. And I know this is kind of a random left turn, but I'm curious about what you think about this. We were talking about pricing and we were talking about how many games exist now. And I'm curious, do you having
in general or VR in general?
Just in general. I'm sorry.
Everyone's stack of shame.
Yeah, but just even if you go on PSN, there's like 10 new games a week, like, and you never heard of any of them. As someone like with a mind for this kind of stuff, and someone who kind of experiment with the free to play and it kind of, you know, the idea of doing it anyway, and then kind of going back to a pricing model, do you think games are too cheap or too expensive? Do you think that we like have a sweet spot with like a $60 retail game?
Well, I think it's a hugely complicated thing. You know, first off, there's too many damn games out there right now. When it comes to my personal taste, what I like is little VR experiences or little like personal games on Steam that are like, you know, $20 to $30 that are, you know, very experimental and cool. The whole $60 like disc-based thing, I'm kind of over it. Like, all the games just feel like they're screaming, "Please don't trade me in." And as a developer who made a mantra for some of our games, keep the disc in tray so they don't trade it in. I can see, collect 100 of these things. I'm like, this is just busy work. Like, you're just trying to keep me in your game instead of experiencing something else. In regards to pricing, digital will save us all. That's the funny thing about it all. You know, it's like, you know, you can have something that's $14.99. That's kind of a bite-sized experience. Or you can have, you know, The Witness, which is, you know, John Blow's like $39.99. People are like, all right, he makes millions. Like, good for him, right? So the thing is, you know, the free market, it can be a good thing and a bad thing, but in this instance, I think it's a good thing. But the big X factor in all of this is YouTubers and streamers, obviously set on stream. And the fact that, you know, there's this weird tail wagging the dog thing that's happening right now where people are deliberately making the most absurd video games imaginable and putting it out there just to see if it'll go viral, because the YouTubers and the Twitch streamers are trying to find wacky shit to play to have a funny reaction to, so that the kids who barely even play games and just watch them online have something funny to watch. It's like this weird, like the PewDiePiification of the world that's happened. And it's so funny, like, you know, when you look at, you know, these platforms, they're the new MTV that's crowdsourcing their celebrities. by way of, the fun things that they get to do with all these unique video games, as well as, cosplayers and that whole ecosystem. So it used to just be make a great game, put it out there, and then have your publisher spend $1 bazillion to market it at NCAA commercials. Now it's like 15 different factors coming together in order to hopefully make something go somewhat viral and actually like sell and make money instead of just getting lost in the ether of everything else that's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick Cliffy's
Can you
brain
tell
all
that
day.
espresso's kicking in? Yeah.
I'll
Veins boom, right here.
What about you brought it up because I agree with you 100%. Way too many games. What like I'm surprised economic realities haven't stopped this from happening already. But why do you like? Why are like obviously there's a market imperative to make a game and make money. It's not an altruistic thing, but. Like, do you ever think there'll be like a correction that it seems to have been a bleed over from maybe the App Store and then maybe a little bit with Steam where there's just a lot of shit and I don't understand like where this is all coming from and how people just continue to raise capital and make these games.
I think you're going to see a bit of a bubble in the traditional disc-based AAA space because people, and you already saw this, like Titanfall did pretty well, but it seemed to hit a bit of a brick wall in regards to longevity. Evolve did okay, right? And gamers, they can smell value. And when you put out a multiplayer-only experience for $60 day one with a fake campaign that's just bots or something, gamers with DLC, gamers are like, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy it. Like in my opinion, those games could have been free to play or some sort of mid-tier model. A lot of the ones that I like to cite are the examples is like a Counter-Strike Go. Small price of admission, like a cover at a bar to keep the idiots out, and everyone who's there paid a little small chunk of money to be there. With an interesting key crate system for microtrans and wrapped around a super airtight, one of the greatest first-person shooters still to date of all time. So that that's why Valve's been steadily grooming that, and it just keeps going, and it's still a great game. So, in regards to your average disc-based game, though, you've heard me rant about used games before. When I was younger and a lot broker, I would have bought the shit out of a $39.99 used game that used to be $60. You're damn right I would. I wouldn't care if the developers didn't make any money off that. But the ecosystem cannot sustain the feature set that gamers expect, the fidelity of the graphics, the amount of money the marketing campaigns cost, and developers actually getting paid and keeping their doors open. There's a hole in the bucket, which is, of course, used in rentals. And that's, I cite the game I worked on with People Can Fly Bulletstorm that I was, helping out with when I was at Epic. It was a great kind of, in hindsight, everyone's like, man, that was a great shooter. I'm like, yeah, the problem was A, I approved a shitty marketing campaign for it. I thought it was just funny and it was stupid. And B, the fact that it was kind of a campaign rental. It was like an 8-hour play through the campaign without co-op or anything. You're like, it had a tacked on kind of light co-op multiplayer, but it wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. So it's just once you play through that thing, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to trade this in for the next game. And the cycle continues. It's a revolving door. And so in that space, Google Fiber is even coming to Raleigh. Like there's still plenty of parts of the world that don't have the internet, but so many of these games now are always online. Like, can you even play Destiny without an internet connection right now?
I don't know. I know you can't play The Division without an internet connection.
And it's coming sooner or later, no matter how much people were kicking and screaming when, Microsoft attempted to do like the digital sharing and all that stuff. And I don't want to say I told you so, but, I got a lot of heat back then when I wrote blogs about it. But, it's all these, online games they're here now, and like Netflix, look how big fucking Netflix is, and everyone watches Netflix, and, the world. There's always places that lag behind with shitty internet connection, rural areas, people in the military don't have a good signal. That absolutely is the case. So there's a case for actually downloading and having the stuff on whatever device. But, sooner or later, the most of the world's going to be connected. That's one of, Facebook's harebrained schemes is to have like balloons in areas that don't have internet to bring internet there so Zuck can grow his user base for Facebook and continue to take over the world, which is what he's doing.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's not there yet, even for the well-connected places.
Yeah.
Like even here in San Francisco, like at my house, I have my mom's house. I have great internet, but then the house I'm living at now, not so great internet, and that's just because of where it is, next to a mountain and all this stuff.
You can have the whole conversation about infrastructure in this country as well. But I'm going to watch John Oliver if you want to see something interesting about that. But eventually it'll all just be wireless and just be super fast, and we'll all probably get brain tumors or something.
It'll be worth it though. For my VR experiences from the cloud.
Yeah, we have I think we're on Time Warner cable for our internet at the house, and like with Google Fiber coming suddenly, I'm getting these calls from like, hey, we've upped your blah blah blah. I'm like, oh really now, motherfucker? Oh, I see how it is. Because fiber's coming. I'm warning you, fiber's coming. It's not the person's fault on the phone, but I can't help but call a little bit. It's like getting mad. It's like getting mad at your pharmacist. You're just like, these drugs are too expensive. I knew, and it's like the person's like, I didn't set the price. Talk to your freaking pharmaceutical company and your health care provider. Jesus Christ.
One of the last questions I want to ask, because I'm always been intrigued, even before I met you, about you, is that you are well known for being, to some people, brash, or to some people just, but to me, I've always thought that you just tell the truth. And I'm wondering, like, and I've had the pleasure to speak to you and know you in person over the last few years, to know that you're not just saying the shit you say to say it. Like,
to be fair, I can be an asshole on the internet. I mean, and when you have a culture that doesn't know where a person's coming from, they take something out of context. It's really, really easy to be like, "You said what? I hate you," without actually like reading what was actually said, because clickbait culture and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, I speak what's on my mind. I don't like my fucking time wasted, and life's too short, And I mean, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I think those who've known me in person find I'm an okay person, and I have plenty of friends in the industry and whatnot, and I don't like kick cats in my spare time, but I do talk a little bit of shit, but it comes from the heart. I usually say what I think, and it's one thing to be on a side note, like for a case in point, on Twitter the other day, I got owned by a community manager from Ubisoft because I was complaining about Rihanna's new song, work, 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 and how I felt like there's this mumblification of hip hop that's been happening lately. And I say this as a 41-year-old kid who was raised in the suburbs of Boston, but I've always loved like good rap and hip hop. I just fucking love it. And so I was like, wow, rap's turning into a full mumble fest. I don't know what's going on out there. I can't even understand a word in this thing. And this guy's like, well, actually, it's Rihanna's background mixed with this kind of cultural kind of way of speaking that the song's actually about this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I quoted it. I was like, well, shit, I look ignorant now and I apologize. Now I know. And it's like one of the biggest things is, if you know something, be confident in the fact you know it. If you're fucking wrong, be willing to be like, oh, I'm sorry. It's even in my relationship with my wife. It's like, did you leave the, a little stupid, like, did you move my slippers? No. Well, I can't find my fucking slippers. And then later on, oh yeah, I left them in the bathroom. My bad. It's important to be like admit when you're fucking wrong. That way, when you're right, people will know like that you're not invincible and you're a fucking human being. I just like to curse too, like Jeff.
Yeah, no, it's fun. No, I also really enjoy the mumblification. That's like just a good word. Whether or not you were right in that case, I believe in it too. See that? I won't stand for no bullshit. That trap queen shit needs to go.
Dude, give me Little Dicky any day of the week.
Thank you.
Well, I think he's awesome.
Yes.
I asked that question or just bring that up only because I wonder if, I feel like the gaming industry is like so full of shit sometimes, like, or a lot of times. I feel like it's like politics, and maybe it's like any industry, which is not. I've never been in any industry.
Well, I mean, the problem is it's like the stock market. Perception is reality in the world. Same thing with game design. If your rendering engine is showing some sort of reflections in the wall and they think it's actually reflecting the water, then you have reflections even though it's a hacked texture. So it's like, Randy Pitchford does this whole talk where he says video games are magic because Randy's he's a magician. He's on the board of the Magic Castle. And, if I do this whole thing and reach behind your ear and find a quarter and you think I actually found a quarter behind your ear, then you believe it. And so it's misdirection. It's also the incredibly short-term memory of humanity in regards to, if the internet comes down on you for some shit, just wait a week, and it'll blow over and they'll be on to the next, And so what you have is instant gratification culture, people that now have a platform and a voice, things taken out of context, as well as people looking for a reason to get upset about things. And so when you add in all that together, you get assholes like Trump, because he's willing to say what I'm thinking. Like, no, he's an asshole, but like when you have this world of this clickbait culture and people who are, like, you get this guy. So I'm not going to get into too much politics, but I tweeted about that earlier, which is why I think you see this kind of thing.
Well, Cliff, thank you very, very,
that was awesome.
Very much. This was a great interview. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
So, Greg, we're coming up today on topic 2 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast.
The supersized GDC special.
Exactly. You guys are probably familiar with how this is going by now. Topic 2 is
Mike Bithell. The one and only Mike Bithell. Of course, made Thomas Was Alone, found enormous success, put out Volume. It came to some platform, the PlayStation 4 and stuff, nobody cared about it. Then it came to Vita. Everyone went wild for it. And then, to make it even crazier for Mike Bithell,
he's taken it to the next dimension.
He is. Wow, good one. He announced that, the PlayStation Vita version, Volume Coda, is coming as well and is free add-on to regular Volume. So we brought him in, of course, during GDC to talk to him about Volume Coda and, of course, Volume getting a little physical packaging.
That's exciting. We had our best talk to him about it, Colin Moriarty and Nick Scarpino. What they have to say.
We had our best talk to him and Nick.
Yeah.
How's GDC treating you?
I held his hand wrong. Really good. It's a weird GDC. Usually at GDC, I'm here demoing, showing the games to press. Obviously, as Volume's out, we're not doing that this year, and the Volume Coda wasn't quite where I wanted it frame rate wise, specifically because VR, obviously, you want that great frame rate.
Right,
so
of course.
we're holding back for now, but that will be at future events. So it's this weird situation where we're just, we're in and out of meetings. This is literally the only thing I'm doing that isn't a meeting or a party this whole week. So it's really nice actually to not like be trying to convince a publisher that I'm good.
We didn't tell you, but we actually brought a disco ball in. We're going to drink later. So this is actually a party.
Actually a party.
It's a party of 3. Kevin's not
It's a party getting started. That's what it is. Yeah, no, it's cool. So yeah, it's been. So my voice obviously is like croaky because I did 3 parties last night, which was optimistic to say the least. I'm not really a party guy, so I was just like, but it was fun, and I got to see a load of buddies, so it's nice.
Sorry.
No, please. I've asked all the questions so far.
I was going to ask him about which parties he went to last night because I did not go to any party. Last night I fell asleep like an elder at 8 o'clock.
See, I've been doing that
Elder
the rest
Nick
of the
fell
week.
asleep.
I did that. I've done that like 2 nights in a row, and last night I was like, no, I'm going to some damn parties. So last night was Humble Bundle party, which was really cool. Had loads of like indie games playable and stuff. So drinking and looking at stuff. Then the Sony party, which was awesome.
Yeah.
They always throw really cool parties, which was where just kind of I was just wandering around, basically seeing all the indies, and then IGF finished, so all of the guys who'd won came along, and we were all chatting. It was a lovely evening. And then I went to Epic.
All of it sounds horrible.
So no, those were cool. And what I liked about so the Humble Pie was cool because it was quite quiet, and like it wasn't very loud music. It was just people playing video games. It felt cool.
Right.
Sony one, there was like an outdoors area that was quite quiet, which suited me just fine. Kind of stood there with my Coke, having a chat. Coca-Cola. And then,
Important distinction on it.
Yeah. The problem is,
It's hilarious if you're just holding a mirror the entire time.
This is it. There's no flat surfaces outside, didn't
Leave
work.
me at Coke alone.
and then I went to the Epic party, which was just like loud and bright lights and just terrifying. That one was like I've not been clubbing since I was like 18. Like I did all that when I was very young, and now I'm just too old for that stuff.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
All right, so we have, first of all, the big announcement in case you're just tuning in, Volume coming boxed, limited run.
Yes, on the Vita. On the Vita. We're just doing the Vita version for now. We're going to see how that goes, and who knows. But yeah. And that's you'll get, so you actually do get like the little disc for the Vita. It's a proper box release.
Well, I'm glad you're able to enjoy yourself for GDC, not having to show the game.
It's nice. Like you're not having the same conversation every 20 minutes. That's the thing, right? Like I get it. Like press have the hardest time at these events because they are running from room to room. I get to sit. Who am I to moan about sitting in a room showing off for like 4 days, right? But like the one thing that's tiring is like if you're showing a game, you have like these are the things I need to make sure I show. This is the stuff that like I have to get through, and you just have that same conversation over and over. It's very tiring. Whereas with this, like, we're having meetings with platform holders, publishers, other devs that we're helping, other devs that are helping us, and it's just a really nice flow of different conversations and getting to see some cool like tech and secret things as well. So that's good.
That's awesome. I noticed that because you don't have to show the game off, the young Japanese boy that was assisting you last year.
So he's apparently like something's going on with him. He's really busy.
Yeah.
I guess there's like I don't know. He got a job. I forget where. Like this little Japanese company, and he's doing this. It's like glasses or so. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Special glasses. The young Japanese boy working on special glasses.
Yeah, I'll get him on another day. And the other thing is I don't have anything to demo, so what would he do?
Right, he would just sit there.
He's not got many interesting things to talk about really, so it's fine.
That's still one of my favorite moments of GDC last year.
That was so much
Shuhei
fun.
just
I
showing
assumed
up.
you were talking about Shuhei, but I didn't want to be racist.
For people that didn't see it, he just showed up. Like,
So he DM'd me like that morning on Twitter, just saying. And had we met at that point? I feel like we'd had dinner like a while before. And he just DM'd me going, "Hey, I saw you're on Kind of Funny, and I'm not got anything on this morning. Do you want me to come and demo your game with you?" And it was just like, and we met on a corner outside just before coming in. It's just like, that's Shuhei Yoshida. And then he just totally played along. I think I'd met him like in a big thing with lots of people, but like, we got to hang out and stuff, and we've hung out since quite a few times. He's lovely. But like, he was just great. And he totally, as we were walking in, like, I was like, it would be really funny if like we pretended we didn't know who you were. And he's like, that's really good. So I think we managed to last for, I think Greg messed it up if I remember right. Like, I feel like he just kind of was like, he said Shu by mistake, but we managed to keep this thing going for a while, but none of us knew who this guy was. It's just demoing the guy. It's great. It's really fun.
Yeah, he was just playing the game, wasn't there for any Sony related business at all, and then just left.
It was awesome.
And also took $50 from you as well, I think.
Which he then proceeded to go around the rest of GDC, like photographing himself holding the $50 and tweeting at me. So it's cool. No, I love Shu. I've enjoyed many an evening with Shu since. He's a cool guy, and he has a sense of fun, which is great. And obviously he should, right? In the industry he works, but like it's real. Like it's real when he loves what he does. He loves the medium, and he's great. He's my kind of people.
So I'm kind of curious. I was wondering this with Volume, because Volume, you tweeted out a while ago that, Volume obviously exceeding the sales of Thomas Was Alone pretty significantly. Does a high tide raise all boat for you, or does a high tide raise all boats for your games in terms of like, have you looked back at Thomas Was Alone sales to see that those have spiked at all?
It does, and it's incredibly cool. Like it's this thing that because it was a surprise to me, and then I've talked to like publishers about this, and they're like, yeah, catalog, that's how it works. You bring out the new game, the old game does better. But it was a surprise to me. And so Thomas Was Alone continues to do really well. And we're still finding weird opportunities to do cool stuff with Thomas Was Alone. We've done some weird different bundles and sales and things recently, just experimenting with it. But yeah, people go back, because we find there's a lot of people who have played Volume, who've never played Thomas Was Alone, so they finish that and hopefully they like it, and they're like, I want to try something else by this guy and see what's gone before. So it's Thomas Was Alone continues just to do really nicely, and that's again like my job is to make video games, and that's amazing. And I still like the idea that like I make stuff and people bother to play it, and then because they play it, I get to keep making more stuff. It's just mind-blowing to me. So I'm incredibly grateful. Every copy of Thomas Was Alone I sell, like, literally lets me keep making games, and same with Volume now. So it's really cool.
Awesome. Now I know Coda is like kind of like your focus now. But I did respect the jump from Thomas Was Alone to Volume in terms of they're just totally different games. I mean, it's totally different style. You made basically like a kind of a puzzler, and then you made kind of like a stealth, like a Metal Gear Solid VR kind of game, which I think Volume is fantastic.
Thank you.
It's great again on Vita. I waited for it on Vita.
It's working really well with those short play sessions, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a nice little story in there, and all. Like there's a lot to find. But like, where's your head at in terms of like once you're past all this, and once VR, I know this is like in your focus until the end of the year, maybe beyond that, but. Do you have any ideas for like what's next? Is it a totally radically different idea again?
I mean, the problem is we have too many ideas. I mean, that's the big challenge, is that, because we've released 2 games now and they've been well received, and that like there's lots of opportunity for us to do sort of whatever we want next, which I'm finding incredibly difficult. Like, speaking completely candidly, because it just opens so many doors, and it's scary and weird because I always have to try to explain this to people. Like, Thomas Was Alone was like, the reason it's Rectangle was I literally was making it in my evenings and weekends. I had no time, no resources, no money. I just had to like make something. And then that came out and that did okay. And, Thomas took a while to kind of build and do stuff. So Volume was very much, okay, I have like a year's salary in my bank account. I can make something a bit bigger maybe, but like I have to be, maybe stealth, but like more puzzly stealth. That I can get that done in a year. Obviously, it ended up taking 3 years. But like at every turn, it's always been that constraint and kind of thing. And now that we don't have the constraint, that's tough. So the honest answer is I have like 4 or 5 ideas, and we're just trying. That's a big part of GDC, is just talking about those ideas with people and seeing which things people react well to. I've had one person laugh in my face at one of the ideas, so that might not be the next game. But
unless it's a comedy game, in which case,
there you go.
You crushed it.
So it's cool, and we're just kind of we're going through that process. We're also in the process of kind of structuring everything better. Alexander, my new business partner, is kind of really like organizing everything and like building a business, which was never something I did because I make video games and I just wasn't thinking in that way. And I will now plug, actually, we're doing a podcast which we're focusing on that stuff, because we notice there's a lot of games podcasts about game development, but they're all kind of about the fun stuff and the kind of the game creation stuff. So we have the Mythal Games podcast, which is like, it's all on iTunes and YouTube and stuff, and that is really focused on like literally the most recent episode we did and uploaded was literally an hour interview with our lawyer, like basically just like talking about like fair use and what that is and how legally that all works, just the really kind of the nerdy business side of stuff. We talk about game dev and the fun stuff as well, but like it's been really fun kind of exploring that and talking about that. So we're trying to organize, be more professional, and then just work out which of those cool ideas to do.
I assume you're attracting attention, and maybe even before volume, from publishers, right? I mean, do you want to work with anyone, or do you kind of want to remain independent and kind of chart your own course?
It's a tough one because I mean that's the thing is without trying to be too boastful, like we've shipped 2 solid games and that gets certain people's attentions and you start to be attractive to those people. So we're having the conversations and we're seeing. I think for me, it's like it has to be something that we would make on our own as well. Like I don't want it to be something that's that we feel like we're doing because we have to. Because I mean, the players can tell. I've worked on those kind of games in the past, and players, not my independent ones, but like I've worked on those games. Players know like if you're faking it, right? They know if you're not into the thing you're making. So I don't ever want to do that kind of project. But yeah, we're talking to everyone at the moment because there are these opportunities, but. We'll see, man. But it will always be something that I want to make. It will always be something that I would have made on my own anyway. It's just nice to have the help,
Yeah, I mean, is the perfect middle ground for you kind of the situation you have with Sony, where it was with Volume, where it was like it's coming to PS4 and Vita first on the console space, and then, I mean, is that kind of like the perfect middle ground to give you like kind of a little bit of a voice and a little bit of a stage? But
and they helped us, and Sony have been just the most. I know I'm on kind of funny, so this might sound empty, but it's true. Like Sony have been like just amazing partners and collaborators on the stuff that people see, in terms of like, yes, got to go out on stage, which like for me is just mind blowing again. And like, support with marketing and all that stuff. But then in private as well, like having, chats, showing them stuff, working on them with Coda, the VR expansion, like just like getting like the guys making PlayStation VR to play the game and find problems or find stuff that works.
Right.
And we found these weird situations where like there's stuff that's in Coda, which is now being put into other VR games because it's a nice solution. And we're also fixing loads of things in Coda, which other developers have solved better. So it's like this whole kind of collaborative, and VR in general is super collaborative, but Sony have been awesome at kind of sharing that information around and making sure that all of us are producing really cool stuff.
Well, can you tell us a little bit, like, what is the nature of Coda going to be? Like, I don't know how much you've talked about it, but I mean, can you tell us a little bit about it without obviously being able to show it?
Yeah, so we're not showing it, and I don't want to like overstate it. So it's the best game ever. No, it's like you plant an acorn and it grows into a tree, and in VR. No, it's still top down. It's still you're viewing kind of an isometric space. So if you've played Volume, it's kind of that, like I say, like Metal Gear Solid VR kind of top-down camera. But it takes place in this kind of cool VR environment. You're sat with a controller or stood with a controller, and it's a hologram in front of you of the level. You can make the level bigger in terms of like in the real world. You can make it bigger, smaller, rotate it so it's comfortable, and to be honest, like just for fun, right? So like you can be playing it on and it's like the size of like a travel chest kind of thing, and that's kind of cool, like really close to your face, or you can like scale up, so like G.I. Joe's kind of walking around and you can poke your head into it and kind of look around. It's taking that.
Sounds twisted.
It is weird and cool, and it's a fun toy. I remember when we were talking like very early on, like just kind of working out the high level design of it. We were like, I always use the reference of like, I want people to be able to like play with the window of a car, like when you're a kid and you're like just fiddling with the window and like making it go up and down.
Off your grandma.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, when I get VR for the first time, I want games that let me kind of fiddle and just like do things and be silly with it and come up, work out ways of playing the game their way. And this was the kind of solution of like, let's let them like, because we had like versions where like it auto did its thing and it was all dynamic and blah blah. But it's like, no, people want to fiddle with the windows, they want to kind of mess around with stuff. So this feels like a good way of taking the Volume gameplay we have and kind of putting it into a VR context, and then doing like new VO. It continues the story with some new characters. It's cool.
So it's safe to, I mean, you're kind of experimenting with VR, I think, as everyone is. I don't know. No one knows what the future's gonna hold. But my assumption is that you're kind of a believer in the potential of it, because I talked to a lot of developers that that actually shocked me. We had Steve Gaynor on the Kind of Funny Gamescast, or maybe it was Game Over Greggy show. I don't know which one. Gamescast. And
by the way, he is looking great. I saw him. I was chatting to him last night. Like he's groomed.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
he's
very handsome. Very handsome.
Great. You look great, Steve. You look great.
And I was shocked. Like he was the one where I was like, I know he's going to be a believer in VR, but he was actually like, I don't really care. And I was like, because his games are like, I was like, oh, Tacoma in VR would be awesome. Not that it's coming to Xbox One first, but but I assume it would come to other things eventually. So what are you finding with your dev friends? Like, are you finding like a lot of support or kind of a lot of skepticism?
I think it's like anything. It's like anything with like down the pub with your mates, right? Like there's people who think like this is awful, it's rubbish, it doesn't count, and like other people who like this is the future of everything. And I think I fall kind of in the middle personally. But I think there's a lot of support out there. There's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people who see it as a really cool toy to play with and something interesting to me. I'm a believer in that. I think it's badass. I think you put it on and it just feels great. And it's fresh and its own thing. But, you know, I also, like, we've not sold one yet. So, like, there's a lot of unknowns on a business level. So I always have to kind of balance those two parts of my brain. But, like, no, for me, I think VR's magical. I have all the headsets and stuff, and I play with them way too much. And it's just, it's super cool. It's something that, the biggest challenge I think it has is explaining that coolness. Because I think if you look at a trailer, you're like, okay, I get it, it's a first-person game. Okay, I've played those. I get this. I get but like conveying to people like these are gonna have to be in like shopping malls, and you have to play them around your friends' houses, and like those first VR experiences. Like no one's played one, so it's that's gonna be a tricky problem. But no, I would love to make games in VR forever and ever, but we'll see how that works. And also, it's worth saying that there are games that don't suit VR. There are experiences that I want to make that, you know, some of the stuff we're talking about where it's like, okay, that I can see in VR, but that would be awful. That would be like
right.
people would die. How about you guys? Like, where are you both at?
I'm a firm believer in it. I think it. I've said it many times, so I'm sorry for our audience, but I feel like it's religious, you know. Like
Greg's not, right? Greg is more on the fence.
Yeah, Greg likes it, but yeah, he's more on the fence. And I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm a late adopter to everything, so I mean, I just am. I you know, for me, I'm the most casual gamer in all of our group, obviously by far, by a huge margin. So for me to actually rectify putting that on at night would just be it's just too far of a stretch for me.
I totally understand.
It's like everything else that really just depends on what the experience can be. What's the game that's going to sell it for me? What's going to be that addictive thing that I have to have? But I mean, it has the capacity to be as impactful to the industry as, like, say, a dual analog stick controller, right? Like, it really does if the experience is there.
I think the price is going to really help with that. Like, it's placed at that console level,
yeah.
And especially for early adopters. Like, if you're someone who, like me, went out and bought a PS4 on launch day, then you might be ready for like another big hardware investment. And I think it kind of, that scale makes sense. I think the price for me, like I think that's the perfect price for it. From obviously free would be amazing, but like in terms of reality, like I think it's definitely it suits what the device is, and it's I think they've said it's profitable, right? Like it's
they did say that which I didn't know until yesterday that they said that, which that is amazing.
That unit price will be profitable for them.
That's what they said,
wow.
which is amazing.
That's what you want.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
Kevin, we got you.
All right, so let's wrap things up by saying, all right, Thomas Was Alone's on everything. You can buy that. It's on pretty much every console and PC and handheld.
Too many, if anything. Right?
Volume's on PS4, PC, and Vita, right?
That's correct.
And you have any Xbox One plans? I guess that will come. We'll talk about that later.
We'll see.
Yeah. And then Coda will
Coda's
be
coming up.
And that's PSVR only, or is that Oculus as well?
That's PSVR only.
Okay.
And then we have our podcast, which I already mentioned. We have the limited run games. You should go to their website and get on the mailing list so you can buy Volume on Vita when it comes out. I don't think we have a specific date, but it'll be in the next couple of months. We just need to work out the exact date, but I won't mention it here because we appreciate you guys might like it.
Absolutely.
And then, just follow me on Twitter at Mike Bithell, and I will promise I'm reasonably interesting on there. I think I'm okay.
Oh no, you're great.
I'm okay.
You're a quality Twitter user.
Fascinating.
The
way you said that. It's really
fascinating.
You're fascinating. It is intriguing. The stuff you come out with, Mike.
You can tell the level of your humor when you play Volume, and you've got that really kind of twisted, dry sense of humor, which I like a lot, which is good. I think
that's part of the English thing, right? I think we're
90% English. The accent, actually, truth be told. The rest of it is just, if you had an American accent, you'd be boring as shit. That's completely boring.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm joking.
Mike Bithell, thank you for joining us. You're welcome with us anytime. You know that. All right. Let's see. Greg will be on next, I think, with Tim, with Nina Freeman. So we should skedaddle.
Gamescast episode 64, topic 3. We're starting it right now. Who is it, Greg?
Nina Freeman. She, of course,
man.
works right now at Fulbright. She's working on Tacoma. I make fun of Tacoma and Steve Gaynor a lot during this interview, but we're also talking a little bit about Cybele, or Sybil, if you want to pronounce it correctly, which I never do, because I played the game, loved the game, and I call it Cybele. And if Nina wanted to pronounce the correct way, she probably should have just written it a normal way.
More importantly, I'm spoiling what you're about to see, but there's a moment in this where I am mind blown that she is the one that created How Do You Do It?
Yeah.
The hit sensation that there's a Let's Play of over at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames where me and Nick figure out how do you do it.
Nina's a very special game developer, and I was excited to talk to her. Hey, everybody. It's me, Greg. This is Tim, and this is Nina. We're going to talk about our game. Now, here's the thing out there. We're live, obviously. The camera never cuts. We're going to break these up as little conversations and whatnot. So I'm going to do a full-blown intro here.
Totally.
Sybil. Right?
Yes.
I was
Sybil.
calling it Cybele forever.
Everyone pronounces it in different ways, and I'm like, wow, I'm a bad game developer for naming my game something like so weird to spell and say.
Cybele, it's because of the pizza place.
Yes,
Cybele
exactly.
pizza,
That is exactly why I
which
do
is
it.
classic and really good. You might want to reconsider making it Cybele because people like Cybele.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could get a Cybele pizza sponsorship, that'd be
really
pretty
That
good.
I would take.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg. This is Tim, and this is Nina Freeman. Nina,
Hello.
you made a game that reached out and touched my heart this year. I want you to know
I'm
that.
so happy about
it's called
that.
Sybil, not Cybele. Not to be cute. Any way you spell it, you're going to find the game and get it.
And it's spelled Cibele. I've learned to
That's
say
marketing.
that in
That's
everything.
marketing. Yeah.
Because everyone's like, I can't find it on Google. And I'm like, you're spelling it wrong.
Yeah, we learned the hard way too, where it was like, oh, you're kind of funny. And it's like, no, kinda.
Yeah.
It's like, yep,
Yeah.
spell it this way. But it's still a good name. It's a good name. Now, the fun thing is, I feel like we have a connection because I've played this deeply personal game and we've tweeted a few times about it.
Yeah.
And then this hack I know named Steve Gaynor who doesn't put platinum trophies in his games. But we've never actually met. So this is an interview where we're getting to know each other.
Yes.
Tim, of course, hasn't played this game. I brought Tim along because this is a game Tim should play.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I want him to know more about it.
What's
But
more important than that is your Twitter.
Yes.
I did not know that your Twitter was hentai PhD.
That is my Twitter.
I like that a lot.
I don't have a PhD in hentai, for the record.
So you're a liar.
I'm a liar.
Okay.
I have masters, not in hentai though.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I just thought it was funny, and even when I started being like a real professional person, I was like, I can't change it. Like people are
Yeah.
just gonna have to accept me for who I am.
I appreciate that a lot.
as someone who didn't know anything about you and then found you through, I think probably Steve retweeting you and doing some stuff and then played the game and then started following, I think it all fits pretty well with who Nina Freeman is. You got the hair,
good.
you got the hentai PhD, you got this game, you take sleeping bags and make them into dresses sometimes.
Yes, I
That's
love
a-
to do that.
I like you. You're my type of person.
I knew.
I'm a big fan of sleeping bags. Just in general,
But
as
no,
a
I mean
concept.
like the children's sleeping bags with like, Bell on them and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Is there any other type of sleeping
Okay,
bag?
sorry.
That's the only one that you want to
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, shit.
My
If you-
sleeping bag has Bell on it too.
Have you done a real Ghostbusters one yet? Because I'll send you a real Ghostbusters one if you'll
I'll
do
take it.
All right, I'll do it. Let's talk about Cybele though.
Sybil. Also,
Let's talk about
I
Cybele.
made it with StarMade Games. Shout out to the team.
So, and that's the whole thing. So let's dial me back to the beginning of like, how did this game come to be?
Sure. So I guess for people who haven't played it or want to know what it is, it's a game about two young people who met in an online game, kind of like a World of Warcraft or something, and they have this relationship, and it's about how they decide to meet up to have sex in real life. You
Told
play
you you like
from
this game.
I really like this game.
Yay. And you play from Nina's perspective, the character who is based on me. That's the name.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it started as actually I made the prototype in a prototyping class at NYU when I was a grad student. So it was originally a student game, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
And then I made part of it for my master's thesis and then continued to work on it after school. I'm a level designer at Fulbright right now in Tacoma. And when I started working there, I was kind of finishing it up.
Sure.
So
and that's why Tacoma's delayed, is because you had to put out your own game.
Actually, I don't know. I managed to finish it and do a lot of work on Tacoma all at once. I just worked all the time. I went a little crazy there, but it was good. And I had a lot of support from them, which was really nice. And yeah, we made it all on weekends and at nights. So that was about a year and a half of work.
So yeah, when did you graduate school? And then when you graduated NYU, did you immediately move out to work at Fulbright?
Yep. Yeah, I literally defended my thesis and like a week later was on a plane headed
Damn.
to Portland.
Wow.
It was crazy.
So when you say the character's based on you,
Yeah.
personality wise and stuff, but is it the look? Does it also look like you?
Yeah, actually, in the game, there's each act, there's 3 acts, 3 conversations between the two of them that sort of contextualize why and how they meet. later in the game. And each of them is bookended by short films to sort of remind the player that, hey, this is a game about this character. You play most of it in first person, but it brings you out of the game to show you her, and I play her.
Cool.
So that's kind of like weird that I'm like talking about it is my game, but I treat her more like a character. But she is based on me, and I play her as well.
And that's it's hard to wrap your head around this one. And I didn't want to show it because it wouldn't show well or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's almost, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but give me a second before you immediately slash me on.
Yeah.
Think of it, bless you, in a similar way to her story, except we're not getting the reflection of us in the monitor. Like we're at the computer, we turn on the computer, and then our mouse is her mouse. And so we get to open up stuff on our desktop and see what's happening in her life that way, like photos, this, that, and the other, and then double click on the game to go into the game, and then play the game and click around, and you're playing the game inside of her game, like the game Nina in real life made, but you're playing as Nina in the game while you play that. And then the conversations are happening over like a voice over IP deal. So even though we're playing, we're hearing the things we, the character, are saying without making any choices ourselves. And so then this relationship starts to develop.
So it's kind of like Emily is Away that we played.
Sure, except
But
exactly.
It's talking and
Exactly. And there's no choice at all. But I mean, so like the story is just playing out as we go and do all this stuff. And it's this weird thing where, like at the end when I was like, and he broke our, well, in the spoilers, but like, how do you think this is going to end? I'm having these conversations with you about the character you play in the game, about the game you made, but then also it's from your life as well, right? So that's what's mind-boggling about the whole thing, and not to mention in this day and age and the internet and everything else, and how toxic the climate can be, to go tell a story this personal, ripped from your real life, but put into like. At any point, did you think maybe I shouldn't do this?
No, so like my background, I started out in poetry actually. When I was an undergrad, I worked in the New York poetry scene for a little while, was an intern at the Poetry Project, did all that stuff. And in poetry, it's like pretty common practice for people to draw on their personal lives. And that is actually what my mentor back then, Charles North, sort of urged me to do and taught me in that way. So for me, it's been pretty natural to take that kind of stuff into games because it's sort of how I learned to write. So I mean, I guess also practice makes perfect. Like almost all the things I've worked on prior to Sybil have been drawn from my own life. So I've kind of gotten used to that feeling of putting myself out there. But it was definitely fun, like going back through my old live journals and old photos and stuff to like draw from them to put them in the game. Because a lot of that stuff is really like taken from actual source material that I like did make when I was like a teen.
Jeez Louise.
This is great.
So then the question, I mean, becomes like... So let's stick with the personal part of it at first, I guess. How do you then deal with people reacting? Because I have to imagine, as with anything on the internet, people are then criticizing the choices in the game, but then in a way they're criticizing you because you really made those choices or some version of them. Yeah,
so the way I think about it with this personal stuff is like I really treat it like a story. Like it is, saying like a lot, sorry. It is based on my own life, but I kind of treat my own memories as like source material that's like separate from me. It's sort of this like mental exercise that I have to do because I don't want these games to be like my diary. I'm more like interested in the craft of it and storytelling. So, you know, I might not do personal games forever. I just really like the storytelling aspect of it. And I love telling ordinary human stories, and I happen to be an ordinary person. So my life is like a good source to draw on for that kind of story material. So when people criticize like the character or whatever, that's just normal. Like I take it like any game developer would, you know, just like listen to what people say and take that as feedback, hopefully do better next time. And I don't try not to take it too personally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then what about, so you put this out there and not open an old wound, but I mean, you're talking about this personal thing. Has there been any reaction from the guy? Has he?
We actually did chat about it.
No
which was
shit,
cool.
really?
Yeah. We hadn't talked in like years, so it was kind of
Tell me all about it. Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm into
It's
this.
weird because I
Here's
feel
the
like
juicy
it's
juice.
gossipy, but it's like I lived this and I want to know what this motherfucker's saying.
What's the
I
canon
mean-
story here?
We all love gossip, so I'm glad that my game can promote that in a way.
Yes.
This is your director's cut. Can be the epilogue.
Yeah, we chatted. It was cool. I didn't know if I could get in touch with him at first because I kind of wanted to be like, hey, is this cool with you? Because like, but also no one really knows. You know,
Right.
I didn't put any real names in the game other than my own.
Sure.
And that's a practice, you know, I've had to get good at that, making all these personal games. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, you know, but I still, you know, I have the right to tell my stories, so I go ahead and do it anyways. But I got to chat with him and be like, hey, are you chill with this? Like, how you doing? And he was like totally okay with it. So that was a very nice interaction to have. And it's surprising that a game can bring that out, I guess.
It does so often, though. I think that's the thing is like we all know people that have some story that at some point relates to we met over a game or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Met people through a game? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have friends like that. Not real life friends because they live far away, but I've met them at events and stuff since then.
Okay, I mean that's enough. Real life and video games, what's the difference?
Sure. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you know, her story's a lot different than my stories.
Okay.
That's all I'm
See,
saying.
I don't know
Yeah.
her story yet. I'll have to play this.
You will
'cause
play this
sounds
game.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But excellent work.
Thank
now,
you.
how many? So it's you, obviously. Did you do everything? Like what? How does this work for you?
So I am the designer and writer and sort of project manager and lead.
Right.
I made the original prototype and basically just asked a bunch of my friends to work on it with me because that's
Yeah.
my style. I just like working with friends on these sort of personal side projects. So Emmett Butler, Rebecca Dunlap, Becky Koss, Samantha Corey, a bunch of my friends came together. Emmett did programming, Rebecca did art, Becky did music, and I sort of was managing all of this and doing all the writing and sort of like putting things into the game and deciding how it would flow. So managing all of that sort of in a creative lead capacity.
Gotcha. And so then, like, you put this game out, you hit your date. Is it just soul crushing to go into Fulbright and just like just the dates keep moving and there's no trophies in any of the game and your boss is an idiot and doesn't know? Steve, hey, how you doing?
Steve, you're getting
Gator, I didn't see you there. Oh wow, hey, how you doing?
Steve.
What are you
hello
doing?
there,
Hey.
sir.
Oh, well,
He loves working for us.
Yeah. It's true. Thank you. Hi, Steve.
I won't ruin your cast too much.
You're ruining my life, Steve.
you're ruining my life. So when you're working on this game and deeply personal, it's something I feel is really different, you know, in terms of games that I get to play and go out and do, you know, actually sit down and play something. We talk about all the time, like who's doing new stuff. This is new, you know what I mean, in terms of storytelling.
Thanks.
Did you expect it to hit? I mean, you just won an award last night. Did you expect
Yeah.
it to do what it's doing, or did you just think this is something you're going to put out and that'll be the end of it?
Yeah, I didn't expect the award, that's for sure. That was a big honor. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because it really did just start in school. Like, I actually have only been making games for 3 or 4 years now. I'm relatively fresh.
So you're a wonderkind.
I'm a little kid in terms of game developer experience years. So it's been cool to like do well and have people be excited about ordinary human stories in video games. I know that more and more of that is happening these days, and it feels really cool to be part of games and to be making that kind of stuff when other developers are getting really into it too. It feels like there's a wave of that kind of thing right now. And I feel good about contributing to that because it's really important to me. And I just feel so great that Sybil can sort of like be leading the way with these kinds of games and being a part of that movement. And it's hugely inspired by Gone Home, which obviously Steve
Never
and
heard of it.
the rest of Fulbright. Yeah. What's that game? That was like one of the main inspirations for the game.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I'm kind of trying to follow in their footsteps. in
So
some
then how
ways.
does that work where you get to go work for them then?
Yeah, it's actually, I don't know, it was like kind of my dream job. And I just met Steve and Carla at GDC like a couple of years ago, met him at a party, we kept in touch. And actually Steve and the rest of the team at Fulbright, but particularly Steve, I've been going back and forth with for a really long time before I even knew I was going to work with them about Sybil. And
You met
really,
him. You met him playing a game, and this game is about him.
Yeah. Well, actually, I met him because he came up and played the game I worked on, How Do You Do It, about the dolls.
You did that?
Yeah.
You did How Do You Do It? Oh my God. Go check out the Let's Play at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames where me and Nick loved that game.
Oh, thank you so
And-
much.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun with that.
Thank you.
You're my type of person. This is good.
You're my type of person.
Yeah.
I like that you like
See
these
you guys later.
games.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So Steve liked that game, and then I was like, "Will you try my game, Sybil, and like give me feedback? I loved your work." And so we sort of have had that relationship ever since. So it's cool. It's cool to work with them now. It's like really a huge honor and amazing.
So I hate doing this, but it's a hackneyed question, but stick with me because I
It's
want to
okay.
drive to the point.
Let's do it.
Is it getting better? You're a female game dev. We always talk about that there's not enough of that. Is it getting more inclusive? Why are you, how are you able to do it when it seems like it's such a hard thing to do?
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it now and thinking about it and actively doing things to change that. I mean, I feel really happy to be at Fulbright because the company is like, I think half or more than half women at this point, which is amazing. You don't see that every day, obviously.
Yeah.
And for me, what I've been learning lately is that, obviously there's a lot of, just in culture in general, there's systemic sexism in a lot of ways, and that's just a reality of our lives. So like, how can I do my work and just sort of like live with that and help change it? And I have been trying to help mentor young women getting into games and doing that sort of one-on-one thing. That's been good for me. And also I've learned that it's really hard because this question comes up a lot. But for me,
and that's why I hate asking, but I feel like it's neat. How do you solve the problem without addressing the issue?
And for me personally, what I've learned is that, to answer that question, I just mentor and try and help other women get into it so that we don't have to keep asking that question every year. And also, I want to be known as a designer and not like a woman in games. I want to be known for my work as a game developer. So I think it's important. I always am trying to like change the conversation around my games and trying to direct it into more about the craft rather than, like, cool, a woman made a game. Like,
right.
I always want to be like, there's more to it than that. Like,
100%, I understand
and I just think that working to change that conversation is really important in addition to mentoring and just being really open to new voices.
And one of the things I like about you is that you I guess the way we always talk about it, right? That the best part about being kind of funny now and being independent is that if somebody pops up in the chat and they're a dick, we say, get out. We don't want you. We don't want your money. We don't want you to be a subscriber.
Yeah.
If you're not chilling, whatever, then fuck off. You know what I
respect
mean?
that.
And so what I like about that is in that same vein of just like, this is who we are unapologetically. I feel like that's who you are too. Like I was talking about it earlier with, you're coming at this personal story in a time where people are very mean at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Granted, it's a very vocal minority. I know that, but they can be, but you're in there. There's this game about sex. There's this game about you. You're putting these live action cutscenes or whatever are in some various states of undress, and there's photos and there's all these different things that like could easily be used as ammunition against you. But you're like, well, if you want to, there it is. But that's not what this is about. And so by acknowledging that and putting that out there and saying this is who I am, you make yourself invulnerable to it. And in the same way, I saw you tweet recently, probably within the last month or something, about the fact that you were sick at conventions of people coming up and be like, oh, did you do the art for this game?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, motherfucker, I made this game.
Yeah, I know. I do always feel really good coming back at people like that and being like, I was the lead. I also wrote a ton of code in this game. So I did a little bit of everything, and I feel really good about that.
Good. Yeah, and that's what it should be. And that's why I'm excited that it's not like that. Kevin says there's 10 minutes left.
Cool.
What do you want to do with your final 10 minutes?
I think, on that topic, I'm happy to have made a game that is sort of very feminine and very pink and all that stuff, because I don't think we see many games like that. I think of actually like Splatoon was a huge inspiration for me when that came out. I was like, not for Sybil directly, but just as a game developer,
sure.
I was like, whoa, like look at this color palette. Like this is just a different look for games. And I just saw it appealing to so many different kinds of people and a lot of people that don't normally play lots of games. And I just feel like, introducing more feminine games or games like Splatoon that just have cool fashion and stuff like that. I think that's really amazing. And I'm glad to see like a company as big as Nintendo doing something as progressive as that. It was really, I've been impressed by Splatoon and that kind of stuff. So I like seeing those different kinds of games, not only from indies, but from like big developers as well.
And that's what's exciting. We talk about it in waves in the fact of like, right this last year, right? It was, oh my God, there's all these open world games, right? Which are a knee-jerk reaction to 3 years ago, this open world game hit. And so here are all these other ones. And so now, like I was talking about it, is our walking simulators games? And I fucking hate that question too, or whatever.
They're games.
They are, I agree. But I love that genre, and I love the fact that now, you've seen it now with Gone Home. You've seen it with Firewatch, which everybody had something to say about.
Yeah.
And then even with Tacoma, like that will continue to go, and you will see other, not only developers try to tell a story that way, but I mean other big developers, not just other indies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like seeing how like indies can do something like a Gone Home, and you can see that sort of like trickling through the industry
right.
and other people trying to do stuff inspired by that. And it's cool how we can all like be in conversation with each other as game developers. I like that about making games. It's good.
I think it's, game development, and I always talk about the spectrum, right, of AAA now and indie. AAA, with how much money gets involved, they can't afford not to have a success, right? Whereas indies can come out and like it's like kind of funny, right? Where we put up a video and it gets 30,000 to 50,000 views, and we're like, that's awesome, because it doesn't like that's a fine number for us. Whereas a big site or a big YouTube corporation, whatever, that'd be a huge issue for.
Yeah.
Indies can take the chances, find out what the audience is willing to do, and then you can see that reflected somewhere else.
Yeah,
and that is what's exciting. Like I'll never forget coming home and playing Sybil.
Yes.
And sitting there, and I was a little drunk, and I was like, I'd heard good things, and Steve had sold me on it, and I sat down and played it all in one sitting at like 2 a.m, and it was like, this is great because this is something different. It's what Colin's always talking about when he's talking about PlayStation VR, or the fact that everything's on PlayStation 4 right now could be on PS3. It's not like we have this. I want different experiences, and I want to see different voices like that.
Yeah. Also, recommendation for playing Sybil: light a candle and pour yourself a glass of wine. That is basically how I made it. I always had those two things.
full experience.
Yeah, for the full experience.
Yeah. That's
You
awesome.
just reminded me of that. I'm glad you played it while you had had a drink.
It's creepier though that I had lit a candle.
I mean, candles are great. It
No,
makes
I
the
like-
room
no.
smell good, so then you're in a good mood, and that
Kevin,
makes a better experience.
It was that weekend where we went and bought all those candles. Remember that? Kevin and I bought a bunch of candles.
I do
That's
remember
good.
that.
Remember that? Yeah, we went to Sur La Table, and then we went to IKEA, and they had a great sale on candles.
Yeah, I'm not a
that's
big
good.
candle guy. So maybe
How can
I'm
you
just
not
doing
like
it.
candles?
I think I'm just doing it wrong. I don't know. I can get down on some wine though. Wine I get.
I mean, you need more than one candle. You know, like one candle is like lame.
So you need candles.
Yeah,
okay.
candles. Yeah,
okay.
plural.
That's what I'm doing wrong. I've only been lighting one candle, so maybe if I get a couple candles, we'll see.
You get them all mixed around the house.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll try that.
Okay, good.
Red or white for the wine?
Red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
nobody wants white.
Yeah,
wine.
white's it's a little weird unless
Yeah.
it's a hot day.
Yeah.
Because white's
Yeah,
colder.
sure.
you
No,
can
it
chill
should be chilled. It should
You're
be
not
chilled
supposed to
for
be chilling
sure.
the
That's a
red.
day drinking thing. I think
Yeah.
white wine is.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your game a day game or a night game?
A night
It's a
game.
night-
I mean,
oh,
it's all
definitely
like
a night
about
game?
sex,
Yeah.
and a lot of it takes place in dark rooms. So it feels like maybe not totally night, but like with
Yeah,
some
let's not limit
dim
ourselves.
lights.
But I don't want to limit myself to only night sex. Like sex should be
Yeah.
available
Also,
at
yeah.
any time.
I was wondering why you're in the bathroom so long. No, that's the thing about the game is that it's weird because you think about games and setting a scene and doing all these different things, and you think about, okay, well, The Last of Us and Beautiful Vistas and this, that, and the other. Whereas your game is staring at a computer or monitor, but being there, I wanted to play it in the dark, dimly lit, because like I'm envisioning how the characters are in college for part of it, or
Yeah.
the whole thing, or just part of it. It's been a while.
The whole thing, yeah.
Great. But I remember when I would play games in college, right? And I was hunched over my little desk sitting there do it and talking about other people.
And it is supposed to be like you're sitting there embodying Nina as you're playing it. So you're like her sitting in the chair at your computer clicking around. It's kind of like the game tries to connect your hands to her hands,
cool.
basically. Which is, it's funny, like her story also does that. Like a lot of these people are calling them desktop simulators.
Oh
I
my
guess.
God, is that a thing now too?
I think that's a thing now, and I actually kind of love it. 'cause
I
I'm
like that a lot. I mean, no ways away.
Sure, but but
it's
you
great.
understand. Don't take it's okay if we grab it and we adopt it.
Yeah.
But people use walking simulators, say it's not a game, it's a
there's-
walking.
That's true.
That's
Just
dumb.
throwing it out there.
I'm taking it back.
Yeah.
Walking
We're taking it
simulators
back.
are awesome.
Yeah.
we're
Desktop simulators.
Desktop
awesome.
simulators.
Any simulator.
We're always talking about the Kind of Funny game. That could be it.
Yeah.
It's just a desktop simulator where you go to an
Watching
Excel,
YouTube?
you go to an Excel grid and you fill in metadata.
Oh, no.
And then you make Photoshop thumbs, and
Yeah.
you got a percentage on how grid it is.
Up the vibrancy on all the thumbnails.
Yep.
That's
I'd
how
play
you
that.
gain maximum points.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go to Google to search whatever it's about. If it's about we're doing a video about Oreos, you put in Oreos and then and then you only get 50% of the points. But if you put in sexy Oreos as Tim would, hit search, you get all the points.
It works. I like this. Anyway, we're taking it back.
Do you want to make
That's the
this? Do
point
you
of
want this to be your next game? You want to make the Kind of
I'll
Funny?
take it. Yeah,
Don't
let's do it.
It's not
Let's
worth
do
it. Trust me.
So that is a good jumping off point. So Sybil's out.
Sybil is out. You can get it now.
It's been out forever. How long has it been out? Because I ran into it, a few
It
months
came
ago.
out like in February. I can't
okay.
even remember anymore. It's all a blur. But yeah, a couple months ago.
You're hard at work on Tacoma with the Steve Gaynor guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's not just leading you off into the ether, this game that'll never come out. Do you start working on another one on your own? Like how do you balance your time?
Right now I'm totally focused on Tacoma and doing my level design work there. But I find making games fun, and I like do it on the weekends sometimes, like a game jam or something like that.
Sure.
I recently was commissioned for this event in No Quarter in New York City, or called No Quarter, and I made a game for that actually while we were finishing Civil up, which was crazy. I don't know why I did that to myself. But hopefully we'll release it at some point in the future. It's an 8-player car combat dating sim racing game.
Jesus fucking Christ, Ian, I love you.
Walking simulator.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, so, when you make a game like Sybil, it's easy for people to expect you to make more games like that in the future. And sometimes that's really cool if you're iterating on an idea that you're really passionate about. But I like, going and doing something totally different just to keep myself feeling fresh. So I was like, I'm going to make a racing game and just see how that works. And it's still kind of about it's about sexiling your roommates basically. So it's still got that narrative twist.
Sexiling?
Yeah, like
What's sexiling?
you know when you live with people and you're like going on a date and you want to take your date home, but like you don't want to like be doing it while your roommates are in the room, so you got to lock them out.
I'm making a note of this. This is great.
Sexiling?
Sexiling is the best. That needs to be a love and sex stuff topic.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions that you might have already answered, but
Go
I want
for
to
it.
make sure that I hit on them. So what award did you win?
Nuovo.
What's that mean?
It is a category for games that basically don't fit neatly into the other categories. So often like more experimental leaning games that are doing stuff that's like really different. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to be considered someone doing something very different. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, why is it called Sybil?
So the name of the game is actually the name of my real avatar from when I was playing Final Fantasy Online, which is sort of when I had this experience in my actual life. So shout outs to the Sylph server in Final Fantasy Online. That's where I played. And my character was called Sybil. And I actually stole that name from a girl I really admired in high school. It was her AIM username.
Awesome.
And this is the spelling she used, and she pronounced it Sybil. And I've been using it as my handle in online games ever since.
That's
And
awesome.
now there's a game
Yeah, now there's a game.
about it. That's awesome. Very cool.
Nina,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you. This is
Sybil's
so
available
fun.
now. Everyone go get it. Follow her on Twitter, Hentai PhD. Look for Tacoma soon. Did I plug everything?
Yeah, Sybil is at sybilgame.com.
Sure.
And there's cool trailer for Tacoma at tacoma-game.com.
There you go.
You can check those out.
Okay. Until next time, it's been a pleasure to serve you.
Bye.
Oh, hi.
Oh, shit. I talked over your Ohio.
It's okay. You
Is
can
it?
do that.
Can I do
There's
that?
no fucking rules, Greg.
Cool, good. We
this
own-
is
we own this
Gamescast,
show.
so we don't even. We're making this up as we
Topic
go.
4, but it's on Topic 4's days, usually on Topic 3 days, because this is a supersized episode
Yeah,
of the Gamescast.
this is a weird world that we're
Right.
living in. Steve Gaynor is back. He was on the Gamescast a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
But now you have new questions for him, except you don't, because you weren't on this one.
I wasn't?
Maybe you were.
No, I think I was. I'm pretty sure I was on this one.
You know what?
Yeah.
In fact, you were.
Because I think Nick tapped out at the last second, right?
That's what it was.
He was
We
terrified.
did the old
He saw Steve
switcheroo.
come in. He got all scared of him.
Yeah.
Steve Gaynor, of course, ladies and gentlemen, founder of Fulbright, made Gone Home, now working on Tacoma. We give him a lot of shit in this interview for 2 reasons. Number 1, he delayed Tacoma. That I'm not upset about. Number 2, he didn't put a platinum trophy in Gone Home. So right now, I'm going to finish a sentence or two. Then you're going to hit pause on this, and you're going to tweet at Steve Gaynor. I love you, Steve Gaynor. And he's at Fulbright. I love you at Fulbright on Twitter, even though you didn't put a platinum in Gone Home.
Don't make this a thing.
It's too late. Once it's said, it's a thing. I love you at Fulbright, even though you didn't put a platinum in Gone Home, period. XOXO, Gossip Girl, parentheses, Greg, at Game Over Greggy, period. I mean Greg Miller. And I'm sure you're going to run out of characters.
Trending Gamer 2015.
Trending Gamer 2015, South by Southwest, most entertaining online personality of 2016, Toys to Life Ambassador of the Year 2016. You might want to just write all this on your phone in Notepad, screen cap that, and tweet that at Fulbright. That
Leave
might be decent.
leave a couple blanks, like underline spaces, because we know Greg's going to keep winning more shit.
It's true. I'm going to keep
So
winning
just-
more awards.
He can scrap. Put
Thank
him in
you,
later.
Kevin.
Thanks.
No more 9/11s. Minorities are good. That's my presidential thing. If you don't watch, I guess if you don't watch Conor Greg Live out of context, that seems kind of weird.
To be fair, Greg,
I left out the part where
even
I'm
in
like,
context, it is weird.
I left out the part about burning people alive.
Don't do that.
If, we were done with that. In Conor
Enjoy
Greg Li-
the interview.
Steve Gaynor. What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg Miller. That's
Holy
Nick.
shit.
That's Steve Gaynor from Fulbright. We are here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames to talk to Steve, see what's happening.
See, I was pretty. That was mine
I thought
was
there were
accurate.
2 Greg Millers in the room for a second.
But before we do that, we're going
like
to start with
twins.
Lightning Reaction, Game of the Year. Now, are you familiar with Lightning Reaction,
No,
Game of
and
the
I
Year?
feel like I'm about to enter hell.
You ready to play?
I don't want to play this again.
I know you don't want to, but that's not how that's not how Lightning Reaction works. All right, so you want?
son of a
I'm gonna
bitch.
hit the button.
I'm pretty sure this
gonna-
is going to lead
Gonna
to
hit the button on
arthritis
what?
later in life.
I'm gonna hit the button. This button I'm gonna hit. It's gonna turn red and play a creepy song.
Yeah.
When the song stops, it'll turn green. You want to buzz in on your thing and be the first person to buzz in.
Okay.
If you are not the first person to buzz in, you will be penalized.
Right.
If you
Penalized.
buzz in early, you are penalized.
Okay. Penalized.
You
So
get
wait,
it.
that's like this thing turns green.
Yeah, you'll see
Yes.
it.
Okay.
Greg always wins.
Not always. Most of the time.
Damn it, I hate this game. I fucking hate it.
God God fucking damn it, I lost that one. You got in my head saying I always win.
Nice try, Greg.
Thank you. Hey,
It's,
Steve.
I will say the batteries on this are going. Because that shock wasn't nearly as bad as the first time I did it, where my entire arm went numb for about a half an hour.
Holy shit.
Do we have more batteries, Kev? Kevin's on it. Don't worry.
Well, I shouldn't have said anything.
Yep, you shouldn't have. You screwed that one.
So
up.
wait, did both of you guys get shocked?
Yeah.
Oh,
Everyone who doesn't win gets shocked. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There can only ever
right.
be one winner.
well,
There you go. Fix that guy up for me, please. Since it'll just 1v1 Nick. See, he can get whatever.
youtube.com/kindafunnygames.
There you go. You nailed it. Tacoma,
Hey, everybody.
the game that's never coming out.
Before we get into that, I told you this earlier off camera, but I want to say it again. I actually finally got a chance to sit down and play Gone Home, and it fucking blew me away. And I loved it. And I was like, I just wanted to thank you for making that game. It was really, really fun.
Well,
if anyone
thank
out
you so
there has
much.
not played it,
Yeah.
I can go get it. It is great.
You have no excuse anymore.
No excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
I mean,
you respect trophies.
Shots fired again.
that worked for Kev.
Yeah, I know. If I can get Kev, I get the audience.
Yeah, because like, had you hadn't played it because you don't play PC games as much?
No, yeah,
Right.
that's
yeah.
why. So when it came to PS4, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'll give this a
Yeah,
shot.
yeah. So yeah, if you've heard of it or whatever and you haven't gotten a chance to play it, it's on Xbox and PS4 now. So yeah, give it a shot. Thank you so much for taking the time to check it out.
There, it was my pleasure.
I'm really glad you like it.
Absolutely
Yeah.
my pleasure.
I don't think we've ever really talked about it.
We haven't?
No, I know that you liked it.
Yeah,
but did you go in not knowing anything?
Zero.
So what did you think for the first part of the game?
I think that means that you empirically don't watch Greg's content.
Oh no, no.
No, I mean I knew enough about it to know kind of. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't played it in the audience, but
Seriously, if you haven't played it yet, fuck you. I don't know how many times I got to talk about this game. I'm buying this game for kids.
Right.
Come on, clearly I like it.
Is everybody's Christmas gift?
That was the one. Did you see when I broke this kid's heart on Twitter?
Which
one
one?
of our fans tweeted at me, and he was like, "I see Gone Home's on PS4." I tweeted out, "The Gone Home's on PS4 now." Yeah, and he's like, "I see it's on there. Is it worth my time?" And I'm like, "No, I've just been talking about it for 3 years because it's a piece of garbage." And then he deleted his Twitter, and then it became a whole thing.
No.
Yeah.
well, that's what he gets. No, I knew sort of the rough like character dynamics of it, like
Okay.
what it was going to be based off of. But going into it, I was like, "Whoa, this has a." At first, I'm like, "This is a really kind of kooky, not kooky, a spooky."
Yeah.
Kind of maybe
It's a
this
comedy.
is kooky. Like Mr. Roper's there hanging out with Jack Tripper. No, I didn't really know what to make of it, but the ambiance that it sets right off the bat and the tone that it sets is really awesome. And it kind of draws you into the mystery of what's happening. And at first, I'm like, okay, is this going to be a mystery, or is I thought this was more about the relationship dynamics between these two people? And then you just get sucked in, and then by the end of it, it really is just a nice, like, I don't want to say payoff because that seems like the wrong term for it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just a nice sort of you just feel, oh God,
It's the end of a journey.
It is.
It's a
sort of-
bittersweet end of the journey.
It's very bittersweet.
Yeah.
And it was cool. And I actually went I think I played it and then was like, wait a minute, no. I got it. Wait. What? Like the ending kind of like it kind of had such an impact on me that I'm like, I'm gonna go back and do it again. I kind of went back and like,
You're like, I can change this. I can change this.
Well, because
if I get to the room faster.
because I wasn't paying attention at the beginning to some of the things that you find in the front room that you come in. So
Yep,
I'm like,
yep, yep.
I'm gonna restart this and I think it actually, if I remember correctly, it resets you, and I kind of went back to the
You go back to the main menu.
The main menu
Yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of went back. So it was cool just to kind of tie that in. I was like, oh, this is such good. Really, it's good writing when you look at it because a lot of the setup was there for you, and you don't get that until it comes full circle and all those threads come together at the end. Which that's the thing I admire most about it. I was like, God. It's like Gainer. Like he weaved a good tale.
That was the funny thing, and I don't think we've talked about this about me when I went back and did the playthrough on PlayStation 4. That was my first time playing it again since PC. Because it was one of those games. The first time I finished it, I was like, that was my story, and that's awesome.
Right.
But I remember, and it kind of sounds funny. It kind of feels like when you go back to like your elementary school, and you're like, I remember these desks being so much bigger. When I went back and was playing it this time, knowing everything, like I remember there being so much clutter of so many things I picked up that didn't matter. When in reality, everything I pick up in that game matters. But in the beginning, on my PC playthrough, I had no idea.
Right.
I remember, I remember picking up the photo of Lonnie and just like, whatever. This isn't. What am I looking for? You know what I mean? You put it all down, and then to play through it again, you're like, oh fuck, right? Like from the beginning, you've been telling me all these things.
Yeah, the game is the same. Like it's the same stuff in it every time you play. It's not like randomized or anything. But I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who played it more than once and didn't like discover new things the second time they play. Either because they just missed it the first time, or because they're like, oh, I didn't realized that like had a connection to something, and it's cool to hear people, you know, kind of like go back through with some foreknowledge and get what the implications are. So yeah, thanks for playing through it for the second time in 3 years.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
I haven't played through it now. I'm gonna rock Tacoma.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of that game when it comes out because now I know what to expect.
Yeah. You're gonna overanalyze everything in Tacoma, looking around, doing everything. Talk to us about Tacoma.
All right.
You delayed it this week, and I'm giving you joshing. I don't mind. Take your time with it. Make it great.
Yeah.
How hard of a?
Well, it's because I'm just gonna.
You're gonna put it out there.
No, I mean we came talk to you guys.
Yeah.
It's going to take us a while to get that platinum trophy in.
Thank you.
It's
we
worth it. We couldn't
it.
do it this year with
And
that.
I know
and I was like, we're going to ship. I was like, we're going to ship it 2016. We can't get the platinum. I'm going to ship. And I was like, but Greg will be so sad.
Yep, it's true.
I hope
if you can hold off and get it, I mean, you can push it to 2019 if you get on the PlayStation Vita. You do whatever you need to do to make that happen.
Well, because the thing is, we're launching on Xbox, so like figuring out how to get a platinum trophy on Xbox is like hard. But we're going to be the first.
You're going to be the first to do it. Somehow it popped. They're talking about connecting the networks.
Oh my God.
So it could just be that all of a sudden you ping and you got it. You figured out. You did the way to do it.
We basically, you know, we were showing it last year, came around and showed the stuff we were working on. And between then and now, you know, we had people that we know play it. We had, you know, people in the press play it. And there were things that we were like, okay, we've pushed what we're doing, you know, this far. And if we just take that and be like, okay, well, that's the game. Well, let's just finish it. It was like pointing towards the stuff we really wanted to talk about, but wasn't really addressing it fully. You know what I mean?
Sure,
it was sort of like we got it as far as we did, and we were like, oh, okay, we're doing this like augmented reality stuff. We're doing like stuff with gravity. What do we like? Now it's clear this is actually what's important about it, and we need to figure out how to like push further on like what you do as a player and how the game works to support like actually what we're trying to say about those things, and not just have it be like our first idea for what we're going to put on screen. And so like that, you know, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if we had been at a point where we're like, oh, our first idea is good enough, just finish it.
Yeah.
That would have been great. But you're not
It's
always,
rarely the case though in game making, isn't it?
You're not always lucky enough to have that. So we gave it the time it needed to be like, what are we really doing with like these augmented reality scenes and how you relate to them, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're at a point where we're like, this is the thing that this is what the game wants to be, like what it's trying to get us to make, and now we're making it, and we got to make the rest of it. So spring 2017.
What I liked about your announcement, and maybe I was just reading between the lines too much, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but was you talked about the fact that you know shared it with friends and other devs and whatever, and they had played it, and you took the feedback and we're going this way with it. And what I loved about that statement is that it's a snapshot that you can compare to Gone Home, because you talked about it in your interview with me over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, where you said that I was like, when did you know you had something with Gone Home? And you're like, well, we sent it out to our friends and devs and they all wanted more. Yeah. And so to see that now, not that this is like that you now get the opposite reaction, or not maybe the opposite of like, fuck this game, I don't want to play it. No, but you know, there was something there on those play tests where you're like, well, now I know that I want to pump the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain point where, you know, some of it is we had a lot of very you know, positive like public reaction when we put stuff out, and like that's awesome. But there were also points like so we had developers and stuff that play tested and gave us feedback, you know, one-on-one, but also when we took the game around to press and showed it to them, you know, we had them have hands-on time with it. They played it, and then afterwards, you know, we did like an interview kind of thing, and like a few different people played it, and then like one of their first questions was like, so you know, what do you guys want to do to really differentiate what you're doing from Gone Home? And I'm like, you shouldn't be asking. The
game should tell you that.
If that's what you're wondering, then like we aren't pushing ourselves hard enough. You know what I mean? And so the good thing is, I think that when we take what we're working on now, get it polished up to a point where we can, you know, take it out into the light of day, I think when people put their hands on it, they will not be thinking about, well, how is this different? It'll be like, this is a different thing, and let's talk about that. You know what I mean? So we're excited about it. Going to be showing more of it later this year. Let people get hands on it.
Give everyone the elevator pitch for it, because we haven't done that. We're just walking all over this interview.
Hey everyone! Hey everybody! You ever heard of this video game Tacoma?
Point at your thing. There you go. We gave those away in the prize bin last year.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
So Tacoma is a first-person story exploration game that's set on a space station. So it's set in the year 2088, and you are a character that is sent to this space station basically to do a job, like a very like sort of like just kind of do your job, don't worry about what's going on here. And as you explore this station, you're finding these kind of digital records of things that happened to the crew before you got there, and you as the player are able to interact with them, move through the timeline of what happened in these different parts of the station, move yourself through it, and connect all of these threads to effectively, you know, rebuild a picture of like, oh, so this is what led to the station being the way it is. This is why I was sent here. This is what's really going on under the surface. And that's a big part of what the two of the biggest things we pushed on were last time we showed the game, the whole station was zero gravity, but you used magnetic boots to walk around and you could like transfer between surfaces and stuff. And like, that's theoretically cool. And it's cool to do and everything, but it requires really big spaces for that to be cool, and like really big huge spaces are not actually great for like making Gone Home kind of like
Intimacy of it,
and like the density, it's just like that's a lot of floor space. And then the other part of it is like, as we played it, we're like, it's a cool idea, but like it doesn't really talk about what it would be like to be in a situation like this, or how this thing would probably be built, you know what I mean? Because it's like a place that people have to live for like years at a time. I mean, you know, they get like shore leave or whatever, but we're like, this doesn't, we want the player to feel like, oh, I feel like I'm on a space station. I feel like I'm like gravity in ways that I can understand is like relevant here. So one of the big things that we did is we rebuilt the station to be more of like a 2001 style central hub that's full zero G, just like float. You're just free floating around the zero G, and then you transfer out to the arms, to the habitable wings, and you're in like Earth gravity. And so there's this real contrast between like, oh, it makes it tangible that you're like, I can feel how this station is constructed. I'm in the middle and I'm floating, and now I'm walking, and I can contrast like, maybe this is kind of like what it would be like to be on a facility like this, and like I am living that through the character. And then the other side of it is, when we were showing stuff last time, we had those AR scenes, the figures, that were recordings, but for the most part, they were pretty localized, sort of like, here's a little scene, and B, you're an observer. Like, you're still an observer. You're not like, whatever.
There's not one character who looks over and is like, why is he here? You're like, what?
You're not like talking to them and doing, any changing what happens, but we have pushed ourselves further to make those scenes much more like kind of robust in terms of there's more characters involved in a single scene, and you as the player, because the cool thing is, so like, part of the what we were pushing ourselves towards was like, we're in a futuristic setting, right? So like, how does this futuristic technology actually affect like what I do as the player and what my relationship to the game is? And so at some point we were like, these are digital recordings of what happened to these characters. Why don't we just let the player have control over like fast forward, rewind? Oh, I think I missed something. I'm going to pull it back and pause, and I'm going to walk over here. Okay, these two things are happening at the same time. Unpause, and like give you the tools to really pull all those threads together instead of just like, okay, it's cool that I'm watching like a visual audio diary, but that's all that's happening. It's like, no, this is like in dialogue with how this technology might work and what your involvement with it would be. So anyway, that's the elevator pitch. We just went about 800 stories.
No, I mean, that's what gets me so excited about it, is when you were talking about that fast forward rewind when you were on the one-on-one interview before with me, where even right now, like, are you playing The Division?
I haven't gotten to play it yet.
In The Division, you'll walk through and you'll find echo locations, and you hit echo, and then it's around you, but it's like, it's very localized and it's not moving. You know what I mean? And that's what, like, I always talk about it when I've mentioned it to you or other people who are that fans of, like, it's similar to one of the favorite, I thought, the underutilized part of Arkham Knight of rebuilding a crime scene and playing it back. But again, super small. I can't wait to be there and be listening to this conversation and notice somebody walks away and be like, all right, cool, play the conversation out, stop, rewind, play it, and then just follow that dude. Where does he go? What does he do?
And we have people have told us that there are these really satisfying moments where it's sort of, because like, you know, it basically the scenes are still localized to a part of the station. So you're like, okay, when I'm in this area, this is what was going on here. This has kind of like a snapshot of a thing that happened there. But it's still like branching enough that you're like, okay, I'm following these people. We got here. I watched the rest of the scene. I'm gonna pull it back and follow those people. And like that moment where you follow them back and you just realize like
they're sabotaging the space station.
when
They're putting rats into the vents.
that is I mean the rat vent moment. That's a little bit of a spoiler, Greg.
Sorry,
I think you're kind of being a dick right now.
I was looking forward to that moment again.
Just letting you know.
Now I know that there is a rat.
Now we're just gonna have to
vent
change
moment.
the rat vent thing.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
God
ruin
damn
it. Does that mean you get rid of my mocap?
No, that means we add another fucking year on the schedule. Thanks.
No,
a lot.
sorry. Well,
So
if it
long.
gets a
Vita.
DeVita.
But you know, yeah, those moments of like being like, oh, I'm back at that point. These things have like reconverged, and like just having that kind of like light bulb moment. It's really cool to see. So, you know, still a ways to go, but we're excited about the stuff that's been going on in the background.
Sure.
What is Kevin like?
I don't know. What are you eating over there, Kev?
Got into some of the Morios? No, Cheetos.
Are they hot Cheetos?
Are they flaming hot?
They don't have it here. Just talking to you, Mike. Yeah?
These are really good though. I haven't had like regular Cheetos in a long time.
Yeah?
You guys want some?
Because you only eat hot
No,
Cheetos
I'm good.
exclusively.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
He does only eat hot Cheetos. Did you see that article the other day about the invention of hot Cheetos and the guy who did it?
No.
It was a really inspiring thing where the at the corporation or whatever, the like CEO put out like, everybody's part of this team. We're all collaborative here, and I want ideas and stuff and da da da. And I'm gonna get some of this wrong. I believe he was just a maintenance worker or whatever.
Wow.
And they fucked up some Cheetos that day, and they had Cheetos that had none of the powder on them. They made too many. So he took them home and put them down, and then he had like a hot sauce there, and he put some spice on them, and it was really good. And so he brought him in, and he put together a presentation, and he got a suit, and like they fucking did it and took the idea and like used it and ran with it.
Well, when you
That's awesome.
find gold like that,
Yeah.
it behooves you to actually take the idea.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Kevin to come up with the idea for Kind of Funny soon.
I hope that guy got to benefit from that aside from a shout out.
He got an article written
I know.
about him.
Well, there's an article.
All the flaming hot Cheetos he could eat in an article about him.
You've watched The Wire?
No, I haven't.
The Showtime show?
HBO
Or
show.
HBO show,
but
excuse me.
Yeah. You've watched it.
Yeah.
So there's the whole thing in the first. Okay. Hey. What are you doing?
It's-
Watch
I know.
it.
I'm busy.
And then the whole thing in the first
All these
season.
Supergirl episodes aren't going to watch themselves.
They won't.
I don't know about that.
There's that conversation in the first season where he's talking about the guy that invented chicken nuggets. Mr. Nugget is like stuck down in the basement. Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember
It's
that.
one of the guys on the corner is basically it's D'Angelo, I think. Yeah, is saying like there's a conversation where they're eating chicken nuggets and one of the kids is like, whoever invented these must be rich. And the guy's like, no, that's somebody who works in the basement of McDonald's. He came up with them. They're like, nice work. Come up with something else, Mr. Nugget. So I hope that guy actually is not just
not
Mr.
Mr.
Nugget in the
Nugget.
basement. He's not just like, okay, I guess I'll go back and keep
All right, back
doing
to being a maintenance guy.
now.
Thanks, guys.
That's cool though. I mean, that is awesome. That was somebody who wasn't like, I'm a food scientist. How do we maximize
Exactly.
this?
Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
weird that I think that everyone that works at the Cheetos factory wears like a white coat, but then is always pissed off when they get the Cheeto
Dust
marks
on
on
them,
the
they got the
white
dust
coat?
on them. Yeah, because Kevin's lifting up his filthy little paw covered in Cheetos dust right now, and then he slams it on his pants.
On his white pants.
Where did you get those all white skinny jeans?
I licked my fingers first.
Great. I'm
Now,
glad I
here's-
touch all of your
Here's the
equipment.
next thing I'm going to toss out.
Yeah.
You get sick a lot, Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't get sick a lot.
Are you
does.
sick right now? Or were you sick last 2 weeks ago?
I was sick last week.
No, yeah.
It was last week.
Do you do a lot of licking your fingers, then
He
touching your pants,
does.
then licking your fingers again?
I certainly do.
He likes to also touch like park benches and bus benches and
Yeah.
just pretty much anything he has little hands on.
I
He likes to just put 'em
was
on.
walking back to the place I'm staying last night, and I was on Valencia Street, and I dropped something, and it rolled like just like off to the side or whatever, and I got down, like I crouched down to like find it, and I had that moment where I put my hands down, and I was like. I just put both my hands on all of Valencia Street sidewalk. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not
Touching. or
I'm
doing
going to
anything.
the closest place that has soap and water right now.
Bad idea. Bad idea. But if you live through it, you become stronger.
Exactly. I mean,
That's
it's,
what it goes.
it's great for
You just-
your immune system.
It is.
It took me one Comic-Con. It was like my second Comic-Con, I think, for IGN, where
Yeah.
I woke up and like couldn't speak in my throat, and I was like, never again. And ever since then, once you leave the house at a convention, like your hands are biohazards.
So I just realized. So I did a thing just now. So I said I dropped something. I was looking for it. I thought I saw a rat run under a car, and I wanted to see if it was really there. I said the fake part because I was self-conscious, and I was like, no,
You're in a safe place. Kind of funny as a judge.
I thought I saw a rat, and I wanted to see if it was under there. That was actually why I touched Valencia.
See, the only reason why I wouldn't do that, and I'm with you on that. I have a morbid curiosity of like critters as well, but I have that fear of like the 80s movies fear when you look under the thing and it just goes and like goes to your face, and then you lose an eye.
Like Night of the Creeps, it like jumps out of the dog's mouth into your mouth.
It jumps out of the dog's mouth into your mouth.
Night of the Creeps. Remember Night of the Creeps?
No, I don't.
Oh, you gotta
I
go watch Night of the
heard
Creeps.
of this movie.
It's a movie where it's like body snatchers kind of thing, where these aliens crash or whatever, and they all look like.
Was it a Rottweiler? Was that the dog?
No, it was a super small dog. It's all these little wormy alien
And
creatures.
so they take over.
They jump
living
into
creatures.
your mouth and then breed inside you, and then eventually you explode. But they also can spit out at people and get in their
Okay.
mouths or whatever. And so at the end, it looks like they beat them all, and the girl who the guy saved or whatever. Like no one's watching Night of the Creeps. I'm not ruining this move. She like
Night of the Creeps
like, oh,
spoilers.
you survived. What Portillo? And it goes blah, and it shoots it into her mouth, and then the credits roll. It's also where that great line. The guy opens the blinds and he goes, "Good news, girls. Your dates are here. Bad news, they're dead."
Oh my God.
They were all, like,
I do
walking
actually
out.
remember that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
That sounds like a good movie.
yeah.
I'm into it.
Tacoma sounds like a good game. See how I brought it all back around?
But that
what
sounded
are you
like an
telling us? Are we
extreme
done?
ice burn. Like you were just like that sounded.
Oh, did it? No, I
sounded-
thought I was like up.
No.
Like that's how I would like.
No, I
good
thought-
show, ladies.
No,
and
no, you
gentlemen.
were like Night of the Creeps, and I was like, that sounds like a good movie. And you're like, well, Tacoma sounds like a good game.
Oh,
That's
I didn't
what-
mean
that's
like
what
that.
I
No,
heard.
I think it's
That's what
a
I
really
heard.
good game. You know that.
I
I'm
know
fanboy
I know
number
that's
one,
true.
brother.
No,
how
I
many,
know that
how
that's
many of
true.
your fans got walls full of arts and crap at home?
Probably one or two,
God
but
damn
you're
it.
like the best.
Thank you.
One.
We had Max Landis over the other day for a podcast. You know
yeah?
this guy? Writer?
I mean, I know of
Director.
him.
Okay. And he
not
was
like we
talking about
hang out.
Firewatch. He just played Firewatch. He
Yeah.
was disappointed in Firewatch. And I was like, well, Firewatch is one of these games that's a lot like this game Gone Home, and you need to play Gone. Yeah, I haven't played Gone Home. Like, you got to play Gone Home. You got to play Gone Home. And then he looked at the wall. He's like, oh yeah, Gone Home. He's like, what is this other thing from? I'm like, nothing. Don't worry. Nobody say it. I was like, nobody say anything. So he knows kind of, but he doesn't know.
Yeah, right.
And then I think I asked you for a code that I then gave to him.
Oh, really? Nice.
There you go.
All right.
I'm doing it. I'm doing God's work.
Spread the word.
It's
The gospel.
one code at a time.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I saw a movie. Oh my God! It's
Ghostbusters.
They-
Ghostbusters 2.
Ghostbusters.
Man of Steel. Superman 1.
No,
Superman 2.
I think that it's
Trying to help.
I think the title is Return of the Living Dead. I'm
Oh,
almost sure.
fuck. Yes.
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead. Me and Michael Rosenbaum love this movie. Yes.
Yeah, so you know all the shit.
Do
So-
you want to party? Bum, ba-dum. It's party time.
Yeah.
They just play that song over and over again. You're like, is this the only song you could afford?
Yeah. No, I mean that's as far as like Night of the Creeps just made me think about
Oh,
like,
yeah.
movies that are like so Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. A friend of mine brought it over and we watched it last Halloween. Do you know about it?
No, I mean I've heard them talk about it. This is the one that's not a Romero film, right?
Right. Exactly.
And it's
so they took it in a totally different direction.
And it's like a kind of like punk rock, like it reminds me of like Repo Man,
Okay.
but with zombies.
Okay.
And it was written and directed by the writer of Alien, the first Alien movie.
Oh.
And it's a crazy movie. It's good. It's really trashy, but actually good.
Yeah.
Like it's like in the first 20 minutes, there's one of the female characters just like likes to take all her clothes off and she's naked for most of the movie. It's like
Yes.
it's not a classy
but to
movie.
avoid the
exploitative.
NC-17, they had to give her a pasty for her vagina.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So she
what are
looks
you
like a
gonna
Ken
do?
doll.
A little bit.
Just like, you know.
And so
That's freaky.
But yeah, written
Yeah,
by
I know. Wrap it up. Shut up, Kevin.
written by the writer of Alien, and you can kind of feel it because like so that movie was the movie that established that zombies want brains. Like it was the first movie where zombies are like brains, and then it became a thing. And it's because like the weird thing is you can really feel it because the whole movie is about like the plot of the movie is based around like basically going through the steps of how a zombie works and how it becomes a zombie and then what it wants after it's a zombie and like
Yeah.
why and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, Alien was about the life cycle of how does this alien work and what stages does it go through. And then you really see it in this movie, but it's
Right.
also this weird, ridiculous punk rock, like, you know, midnight movie kind of like
I gotta watch
B
this movie.
movie.
Everybody go watch it.
The soundtrack is fucking good. It's a weird movie and it's totally worth watching. Yeah.
Probably like Tacoma will be totally worth playing when it comes out this spring. Right?
Next spring.
Well, I guess it is still this spring. You know what I mean? I'm thinking already so far
Spring
ahead.
2017.
You're wishing
No, I'm thinking
was
that
soon.
I'm thinking that we're already in spring. It's already popping here.
Right.
When
Well,
it comes out next year.
it's
all right?
March.
A year from now, Steve Gander's gonna be back here. We'll be talking about this game. We'll be saying it'll be out in the fall.
We'll be
that's the spoilers.
Now that's just being a hater.
It's just being a realist about game development. Steve, thank you for coming by.
Absolutely. Thank
I
you
love
for
you
having
very
me.
much.
It's always
a
great
pleasure.
being here.
I'll shake your hand as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
It's a lot
you.
of fun.
So, Greg, we're rounding out our Kind of Funny Gamescast adventures.
Yeah.
You know, just for tradition, as always, the final topic brought to you by the Kind of Funny forums. Go to kindoffunny.com/Gamescast topic. Leave your
Do
topic.
it.
We'll get to it eventually. We didn't do that for this one, but I felt the need to put that in there. Today, we're talking to one Donald Mustard.
Correct.
That
from
was
Chair.
you and I.
Yes, it was.
It was.
It was.
No, it
No, it was
wasn't.
Colin.
Yeah.
I was going to roll with it because I was going to roll with things.
Man.
If I could just be frank with you, ladies and gentlemen, Tim's very tired because Tim's been busting his ass for this company on a business deal that I cannot talk about right now because it won't be live in time for when this goes live on Patreon. But,
Oh, yeah, well.
oh, right, because this is
They'll
next
know.
week. Oh,
Yeah.
because of the Rooster Teeth stuff. Tim's living his dream and getting
I
us to
am.
work with Rooster Teeth. And so
It's fucking awesome.
But it's a lot of emails and a lot of him staying up late and him talking to this.
And
There's
not
this,
showering, so my hair does this thing. where it's
exactly.
just
And
like-
there's this one like disgusting fan Tim has to keep working with named Andy Cortez, who's just
You mean Andy
filthy.
Cortez from Rooster Teeth?
I do mean Andy Cortez from Rooster Teeth, who keeps making us awesome shirt designs that we keep selling, that we're selling right now over on our brand new store at kindoffunny.com/store. But it's not on the Rooster Teeth site, so shipping's really quick. So
So
you just-
Donald Mustard.
Donald Mustard, ladies and gentlemen. Chair, which means Shadow Complex, which means Shadow Complex 2, which he has entirely laid out and they have a block for, but they've never done anything with, and we talked about that. It means Infinity Blade, and now it means Shadow Complex Remastered, and it means that J.J. Abrams joint he's working on. We talk about that. Basically, if you don't know Donald Mustard and Chair, this is one of the OGGs in the industry, one of the coolest dudes, one of the most important people going, so we had to get him in here.
Yeah, if you don't know Donald Mustard, now it's time to catch up.
I fucking
I'm
hate you.
sorry.
God damn it, Tim. What's up, everybody? Welcome to your very special Kind of Funny Games cast here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Time for one of our segments with the one and only Donald Mustard. From Chair, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you guys?
I'm excellent.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it's Colin and I here to talk to you about this. Now, Colin is here because this man loves Shadow Complex.
and I love him.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That works out great.
Yeah.
That's why
Awesome.
it came.
Very symbiotic.
Today, as of our recording, Shadow Complex Remastered out on Xbox One.
Yep. It came
Congrats.
out a few hours ago on Xbox One. You can go get it right now.
Congratulations. Yeah, great job. When's it coming to PlayStation 4?
So it is coming to PlayStation 4 and Steam in May.
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
the exact day yet, but as of this morning, I just got an email a few minutes ago saying that we're at ZBR, which means we have 0 bugs. Like we're ready to submit it into cert. So it will definitely be in May.
Awesome. Congratulations
Yeah,
on that.
thank you.
How big is that? I mean, when you look back at Chair and the lineage and like, I think right now, so many people know you for Infinity Blade, right? But then I feel like there's so many console gamers who know you guys for Shadow Complex. Like, what does Shadow Complex mean to you now?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I mean, I desperately love Shadow Complex. I mean, for me, it was, and for the whole team. Like it was not that all of our games aren't, but this was an absolute labor of love for us, and especially when we set out to make Shadow Complex, there just weren't. Not only were there not a lot of side scrollers being made, but there was absolutely not a non-linear Metroid-esque side scrollers being made at all. And anyone we talk to about it, they're like, you're crazy. If
Yeah.
you're not a first-person shooter or like a cover-based third-person action game, like you're done. And we're like, no, we just really believe that if we make it, they will come. Right?
Right.
There will be an audience for this type of a game, and it's just been so immensely satisfying to just not only make that game, but to have it win, like over 50 Game of the Year awards and be so critically acclaimed, but also just sell to so many people. Like there's a huge audience for those kind of games.
And I think, for
And then we made Infinity Blade.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
were we thinking?
We'll get to that eventually.
exactly.
Yeah, you left it behind. You hung it out to dry. You never made a sequel. I hear you got maps for it, though. You got everything planned out. You just got to sit down and... No, it's okay. But for Shadow Complex, I mean, like, to think back to when it came out on Xbox 360, that was still when downloadable games were, like, looked down upon. And it was, it's pretty good for a downloadable game.
Yes.
And, like, we'll do these games of the year, but we'll do download XBL game of the year and stuff like that. Like,
No, and it was interesting because I hadn't really revisited Shadow Complex at all until we started redoing this. And I actually went back and read some of the reviews, and it was interesting. Like there was almost this theme through the reviews that, like, it's weird because I feel like I have to give this game a 9 or a 9.5, but I almost think it should be a $60 retail. I don't understand this game. It doesn't fit into this category that we've we've presupposed a digital title should be. And it's so crazy to even think that nowadays, like that there's this weird line between downloadable or not. And I hope that Shadow Complex played at least a small part in kind of changing the viewpoint of what a game should even be classified as.
I think it did. I mean, Colin, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Shadow Complex is still my favorite Xbox 360 game. And thematically, it's fantastic. Obviously, the gameplay is fantastic. I mean, you guys you made Infinity Blade, and obviously this game must have been, by volume and by revenue, a much even bigger success than Shadow Complex, which of course changed maybe the direction of where Cher was going. But it surprised me now that we're 7 years or so removed from Shadow Complex. You guys really haven't made a sequel to it. It's almost, for a lot of Shadow Complex fans out there like me, it's almost frustrating because because the game clearly was a huge hit. And I think warranted a sequel. So, and there has always been rumors that you guys wanted to do it or, had ideas about it, but like, where is your head at now? Are you kind of putting out the remastered versions of Shadow Complex to kind of see, is that interest still there? Or is it latent?
I mean, I wouldn't say that that's not one of the reasons why we're doing it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely part of it. I mean, we loved making Shadow Complex, and the truth is, so we did, intense study of what we thought made the Metroid games work so well, and some of the Castlevania games work so well, and could we put our own spin on that, but really kind of find the vibe and the soul of what made those things work. And to me, by the end of making Shadow Complex was when I'm like, all right, I actually know how to make one of these games. Like, now I could actually go make a really good one. And so for me, Shadow Complex was like, our warm up. Like,
and then you just shut it all down and push it away.
Yeah, no, and like, we really know how to do it. And we did. We immediately went into developing Shadow Complex 2, and we worked on that for about 9 months. Greg's not wrong. And we laid out, we have the whole game designed on paper. We blocked the whole game in BSP. Just think of it as like, just like rough, like gray box, everything. And yeah, I mean, we can, I can play through Shadow Complex 2, not with all the AI, and it's not beautiful at all. It's just blocks, but you can play through the whole thing from start to finish, and it's amazing. Like, it is probably one of the best things I think that we've designed. But as we were doing that, Steve Jobs called and said, "Hey, do you want to do this little thing?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, we'll pause Shadow Complex for a little bit and go do this thing with Apple that became Infinity Blade." And yeah, it became just this huge thing. And we love Infinity Blade. Like, I think there's some of the innovations we were able to bring to mobile and the design space there that are so innovative, and we've been so fortunate to be successful there. But yeah, I mean, we really want to get back to Shadow Complex if it warrants it. And so, if you want more Shadow Complex,
get the remaster.
Get the remaster
I have to
and
be
see if you guys tell us you want it.
I don't know if I'm just furious right now or really happy that Shadow Complex 2 exists and you can play it and it's been just sitting there.
It's not. And it's not just that. I mean, there's massive amounts of work to do, but
course.
the rough shell of it, yeah, I mean, is pretty awesome.
Thematically, I mean, do you guys have? I know that and there was some controversy with Orson Scott Card, kind of being evolved with the theme or whatever with the story of the original. Would you want to revisit that kind of Empire-based story and like continue that, or would he still be involved, or would you?
Well, so one of the awesome things about Shadow Complex, and maybe this isn't clear to everyone, it was actually written by Peter David.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so
why was the controversy?
Yeah, the comic
why was there controversy around that then?
So when we not
that I agree with the controversy.
No, it's fine. I think it's
this
just,
interview's over.
No, I mean, it's just the way things get communicated and whatever. But I love working with great storytellers. That's why we love working with like J.J. Abrams. I'm always interested in finding great partners to work with, and I was a huge fan of Peter David and his work on all sorts of comic books. Supergirl. Super. But specifically, like, I loved his early work on Wolverine in the early 90s, for any of you that want to go look up some of that stuff, or whatever, like some awesome stuff. And so when the opportunity came up that we're like, oh man, we could get like someone like a Peter David to write with us, that'd be amazing. So he was amazing, and we convinced him to work with us on the script, and he wrote Shadow Complex, and he wrote Shadow Complex 2. Like, the script's done. And while that was happening, Orson Scott Card, we knew Orson Scott Card, and he was like, hey, I would love to write a book in your universe. So he licensed the rights from us.
So it went the other way around.
Well, it's the other way around. We own Shadow Complex.
hell
It's
did I not
ours.
know that?
He licensed it from us. He wrote a book, and there you go. But
and the book is Empire, right?
the book is Empire.
Because I read Empire.
Yep. But yeah, it was based on our universe,
Okay.
not the other way around.
That's interesting. Oh, so that's where the controversy stems from as well. So the story is also written by this gentleman for Shadow Complex 2, and it's just sitting there along with the kind of the shell of the game as well. It's just kind of enticing stuff.
Yep.
Peter David's awesome.
Peter David's awesome.
You should read his Supergirl run. You should read
Do you
his
know
Young
that's not
Justice
good? No.
run.
His
Dunn would tell you about
X
Hulk.
Factor.
Yeah, Dunn would tell you to do
Yeah,
Hulk.
I mean, yeah, no.
Colin hates comics because he sucks.
And he even made Aquaman cool. Like, he made Aquaman cool somehow. Like, it's crazy.
I didn't know that
No,
ever,
Peter David's awesome.
that was ever a thing.
All right, you
Aquaman
can
was
stop
a-
talking.
Anyway.
Okay, don't worry about that.
Well,
much.
this is, I mean, that's so exciting to know because I know that, Infinity Blade seemed to be an amazing distraction for your studio, and it vaulted you guys into this.
That's not a distraction. I mean,
Well, I
we bled for that. I mean, that was
I'm
like.
not saying that it's ultimately, I'm saying from Shadow Complex
I'm just
specifically,
teasing.
and so that's a great direction for you guys to go. It's not like you guys were struggling doing, having to do contract work or figure out how you're going to make ends meet. I know that was a great direction for you guys to go, and you'd choose that path 100 out of 100 times. It's just great to know. It was great to see you at the Game Awards talking about Shadow Complex, because it really is a game that I adore, and I think I would like to think there are hundreds of thousands of us
there are
out there.
and you'll
that-
see them come out in droves. I'm sure that's what's got to be so exciting about the remaster, is putting it out and getting it to PlayStation audience, getting it to the PC audience.
Yeah, I mean, and with any, I mean, even with the work you guys do, I mean, our intent is to bring delight and to bring joy to people in their lives, right? And if the work we make can even delight or entertain you at all, like, that's amazing to us. And so the opportunity to bring that to more people is all we really want. And so it's so awesome to be bringing it to PlayStation and Xbox One and to PC. Like, it's a dream come true.
Now I should call out, you've given us 5 codes for Shadow Complex remastered on Xbox One, and we're going to do it like we did with those indie developers last night. So right now, Twitter.com/Shadow Complex has 737 followers. If we can get it to 1,200, we'll give away all 5. That way it'll be one by one by one by one.
And so this is interesting because we actually just started at Shadow Complex on Twitter. Because,
Surprised you got it.
Because here's how crazy it is. When Shadow Complex came out in 2009, Twitter wasn't even really a thing. So they didn't have Twitter accounts. So this is like a whole new thing for Shadow
Yeah, how the hell did you even get that? Did you have to buy that off of someone, or did no one take Shadow? Or did
You took somebody out,
or did you have some
knocked them
savvy
off.
person just sit on it for 5 years?
And, I don't even ask how these things come about. We just-
I don't want to know how the sausage gets
yeah.
made. I just want to get there and have it there. So in terms of the Chair's timeline, we've started talking about Infinity Blade. I mean, when Steve Jobs calls, was that a hard vision to wrap your head around? Were you guys like, like, it's a cool opportunity, but do we care? Is this going to work? Does mobile and touch gaming matter?
Well, it was interesting because, because we just want to make great stuff. And while we were, we were working on Shadow Complex 2, it was amazing. But I found myself personally, like, earlier that year, Mass Effect 2 had come out, which is one of my favorite games of the last generation. And while I was playing through Mass Effect 2, I was sitting on my couch one day watching a football game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have some time right now. I could go play a game. And I'm like, oh, I could go upstairs and play Mass Effect 2. Or I was like, or I could play, I could play Field Runners on my phone. It was this little like tower defense game.
Yeah.
And I picked in my own brain, I'm like, I'm gonna play Field Runners. I'm gonna play that instead of Mass Effect. And there was like this crazy moment for me. I'm like, what have I just done? Like,
What have I become?
What's wrong with me? But this little light went off in my head where I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this mobile stuff is going to be a thing. It's going to be a big deal. And so there was a part of not just my brain, but everyone at Chair, we started switching our brain a little bit, going, if mobile, what would we do? And so that was like kind of already happening. So when Apple called and when Steve Jobs was like, hey, I actually have this new thing that is pretty powerful. I think it can run 3D. It can run Unreal. Like, do you guys want to try and do something together? It wasn't that hard for us to say. I mean, it was like, because again, initially we're like, is it worth pausing Shadow Complex for 3 or 4 months to do trying this little thing? And we're like, yeah, a few months. Let's see what's the future is going to be. And we had no idea. Like, we had no idea that Infinity Blade was going to become so huge, that mobile was going to become so huge. We just kind of were in the right place at the right time.
How was that introduction made? I mean, how did Apple come upon, you know, do you have a personal relationship with people there, or did someone kind of send your
No,
name up?
I mean, so Chair is part of Epic. So we're part of Epic Games, which makes Unreal Engine technology. And at the time, it was Unreal Engine 3, and we had a little part of the engine team secretly working on getting Unreal Engine working on mobile. And they had got like a little version spun up on an earlier version of Apple hardware. And I think some of the Apple folks had seen that. And so they knew that was happening. And so they knew our technology was, I mean, Unreal Engine technology is incredible, right? It powers such amazing games. And so that, I think, is how some of the early relationship formed. And then, you know, Steve, right? He wanted, you need, it's not just technology that shows off. It's a, you know, something visual to show that. And so I think that's where we got invited to participate in that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the right men for the right and women for the right job,
Yeah.
I guess.
Shadow Complex Twitter, the push has begun. You've crossed 800, are closing in on 900. So the first winner of Shadow Complex Remastered is from the Twitch chat by the random number generator, and it's Panzerg2. So when I get the codes, I will send them to you, and you'll have it on Xbox One.
Nice. Congrats.
So as Infinity Blade keeps going, what's happening? Who's
Ask
talking
him
over there?
what?
What are
The
you doing?
codes are sent to your email.
Thank you very
Oh.
much, Kevin. You're a good guy, Kevin. Snappy dresser too. Thank you. Infinity Blade's going. You guys see so much success with it. Was that just the no-brainer to keep going there and continue to indefinitely polish Shadow Complex 2?
No, I mean, like, you know, as you've probably seen, right? Like, we don't just immediately like, yeah, let's just make a sequel. Right? Like, it's not really our thing. No, I mean, to me, it's more about, is there more that we feel like we need to say design-wise in a genre? And it was. I mean, truthfully, when we finished Shadow Complex, we're like, now we've learned how to do this. We have more to say. There's more. There's innovation we think we could bring here. With Infinity Blade, we, in a lot of ways, had kind of invented this new genre, right? Now there's, you know, hundreds, if not thousands, of Infinity Blade-like games
Yeah, of course.
in the world, but at the time there was nothing like that. And so at the end of Infinity Blade 1, it took off so huge, and even for us, we're like, this is just the cusp of what we think a mobile game could be, of what the design relationships could be, like of what we could even say in this space. And it did. I mean, we very much felt obligated to flesh out this genre that we had kind of invented in some ways. And so it required, and again, for us, even though it had an Infinity Blade 1, a 2, and a 3 on it, for us, it was the same code base. We basically worked on that for 2.5 years, you know, from the beginning of Infinity Blade to the end of Infinity Blade 3. And it took us that amount of time to fully express that design. And so to me, what Infinity Blade 3 is now is the full representation of what we thought a full-featured AAA mobile game could look like. And we're done now. Like, for me, I'm like, I have fulfilled what we think we need that to be, and now we could move on. We moved on to Spy Jinx, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you move on to something else called Spy Jinx.
Because we had this awesome, crazy idea. And
Explain the idea to everybody.
I'll tell you later. I'm not going to tell you yet.
Tell everybody right now. It's already been leaked. JJ's been talking about it left and right.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, if JJ's saying no, no, we're not ready yet. No, we had this really what we thought was a cool idea for a new intellectual property and a new game, and we'll talk more about it soon. But we've been working on it for a while. It's going to be really cool.
But how does the collaboration then with J.J. Abrams come to be? Because you get a call from Steve Jobs. Does Abrams call you, or are you calling Abrams?
No. So again, it kind of all feeds together, right? So JJ is a fan of Apple products, right? And so he, I think, happened to be watching some of the keynote stuff, and I happened to be on stage with Steve Jobs being like, boop, 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 look at Infinity Blade and whatever. And then Infinity Blade 2 comes out, and it's, you know, it gets like a 10 from IGN, and it's like winning all these awards. And I think JJ at that time is like, oh, you know, he was aware of us. The real thing that happened, though, was his son started playing Infinity Blade. And his son is like super into it, and yet would get to these bosses that he couldn't beat. So he'd be like, Dad,
you got to beat this for me.
And so JJ had to get good at Infinity Blade, right? But then he started getting into the story, and he started seeing it. So that was kind of happening. And then on the side of that, like, I'm a huge J.J. Abrams fan, right? And again, like, part of our thing at Chair is, you know, when we identify people that we really respect, like a Peter David or a Brandon Sanderson, we're like, we got to work with these people. And forever we're like, we got to work with the JJ. We got to just meet him. And mostly so I can just be like, ask him all my lost questions.
Sure, of course.
Right. And that's really what it was. It was like, I have like a whole like notebook of like,
Man,
what
you
about
and
this, what
Colin
about
should
this?
get coffee after
Right.
this.
And so, yeah, it came an opportunity where through Apple, we were able to get kind of introduced. And I really thought it was going to be that. Just like I could meet him, I could bow down and I could be like, I love you. And then that would be it. Right. But we got talking and, you know, what was supposed to just be like a 15, 20 minute say hi thing turned into 3 or 4 hours. And by the end of it, we were like, we have to work together.
Right.
And so it just kind of went from there. Amazing. We're so lucky.
I'm curious about, you know, we have you only for a few more minutes, and it's more, I guess, an Infinity Blade related question. But how do you feel? I don't want to say you're, you know, like you helped pioneer a specific niche and a very respected and hardcore core niche on mobile gaming. But we've been very critical of mobile gaming, as it seems like only 1% of 1% of games even are relevant. Everything else kind of falls to the wayside as a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. The landscape seems to have changed a great deal since you released Infinity Blade.
Yes, for sure.
How do you feel about mobile as a platform now? Because it seems like for most developers, unless you are what a Game of War, whatever these commercials you see during football, whatever, like you're kind of have no prayer. Like you see thousands of these guys just going out of business, you know, 1, 2, 3 person studios making these games. So how do you feel about the way that it's evolved now? Do you think it's like a positive place to still be for games today?
I think it depends on the game, right? I mean, it's definitely hard. I mean, I think I think you can see it in its most, I'll use the word pure. It's the most pure form on mobile, but I kind of think that's indicative of the whole industry right now, where making a game is very, very hard, but the tools to make games and the platforms that games are available on have just become so wide that there's millions of people making games right now. There's probably hundreds of thousands of games released a year. And if you looked at like across all platforms, the ones that make it, it's a very small number. It's not just mobile, right? On console, on PC, on Steam, like very few of the games that actually get released, like become viable commercial products. And so it's an interesting time. I'm interested to see like how over the next few years, all of us kind of navigate this. Again, I think mobile you see it in its most, you know, pure capitalistic, you know, kind of expression. But I do think, I mean, as a designer, you have to look at different business models. And I look at free to play as a business model. I look at that and I go, I think there are ways, and I think there's just trying to see games now, games like Hearthstone and games like, even like Supercell's new game, Clash Royale and stuff that are like actually really, really, really good games. They have a really smart design. There's really good gameplay inherent in them. And I think they're finding ways to make money on those games that isn't exploit, you know, that is a clear like value to players. And so I think there's so much design innovation that can come through that business model if we're more smart about it. But I don't know. We're in an interesting time period right now.
Saturation, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know. To me, I stay away from it because I feel like, and we've talked about even PSN. I mean, Steam's already kind of gone on the other side of the paradigm now, where I think it's getting too flooded with just, there's no quality control. Like, I don't think there's any shame in having, you know, I think that there's a subjective nature to reviewing games for 95% of it, but there is a 5% objective. Is this game even worth anyone's time? Does it run? Does it have a, you know, is it decent? Is someone going to feel like they're ripped off when they and I just feel like there's not enough of that even on console now. You're seeing it on PSN when we read the blog every week. I'm like, did you read, are half these games even relevant? Are these,
did you read the
games,
description of these games?
Yeah,
right?
like even 30 million PS4s out there. Are half these games even selling 10,000 copies? Like, is it even worth flooding?
10.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are you flooding the PSN and making the good stuff harder to find? I think that's unfortunately bleeding into the console space. So I think it's actually the mobile kind of infection, as it were, with that kind of race to the bottom is starting to infect everything. And I think that's a negative kind of thing, personally.
I don't know if I'd blame mobile for it as much as I just blame the tools becoming more and more accessible.
It seems like that
right?
to me. I think it's just the tools are so ubiquitous now that
You figure mobile was the first one. That was a huge shift, right? When it was like for $99, you are developing for Apple.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Okay. And then that's when you got all these weird games. And now with PSN and how, you know, the ability to make something in Unity and put it on Steam, put it to Xbox and put it to PlayStation.
Yeah, no, I mean, from again, the capitalistic viewpoint, it makes perfect sense to proliferate.
Yeah.
All I'm wondering is if the stakeholders need to have a little bit more control because it lowers the value of PSN. I feel like PSN is more powerful on the PS4 in terms of the games that are there, but I feel like the PSN actually quality-wise was way better on PS3, like on an average basis.
Yep. Well, and I think again, like, I mean, if this is getting way boring, we can just change the subject. But I think, yeah, like the technology.
This is the
curve,
shit we love. Don't worry.
Right? The technology curve of like how, and again, not like making a game is easy by any means. Again, which is why the huge quality disparity.
Right.
It's not easy to make a good quality product, right? But the curve of being able to make that, and then the curve of user experience from a store standpoint. I don't know that any of the people that designed the storefronts in any of the platforms we have. I don't know if anyone even had the opportunity to think through like how do you service hundreds of thousands of things in a way that can actually be organized and sorted. Like the stores are just behind the technology, and it's going to take some time for people to figure it out. It's not
Sure.
like this is easy stuff to solve.
No, of course
But
not.
I promise there's probably people out there who are very motivated to like solve it so that the good stuff, the cream can rise, right?
Yeah, exactly. To me, it's probably such a simplistic and ignorant way of looking at it from my point of view, but like, could PlayStation, for instance, have just a number of people, 20 people that are just like, these are the games that are in cert right now. Like, would any of you even buy this? Like, is it worth, because they really lose nothing by putting the game up, getting a 30% rip on the game. I mean, I understand them, but at the same time, say, 3 games start with, PES or something when you're searching for it. And it's like, well, maybe we can knock that down to 2 to make like, so when someone's using the slider to search, the games are actually worth a damn.
Yeah.
Come up and they're not hidden.
Yeah.
And then maybe that increases our sales time. In other words, a very convoluted way of looking at it. And I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know if anyone would even agree, but I just wonder if less is more. And I'm seeing that with obviously mobiles, tens and tens and tens of thousands of games
Yep.
on there.
Yep.
But like, are more than 1,000 of them even, fun? And so I wonder, like, it seems like the consumer suffers ultimately, and that's why the race to the bottom to not pay anything then hurts all the developers.
Yep.
But that's a philosophical
I'm
argument for another
confident
time.
we'll solve it, right? Like, I mean, of course it's going to get solved. Everyone is motivated to solve that.
Right. I hope so. I think you're right. And you're way smarter than I am. So
No,
you would know.
it's not
No,
true.
it's true. It's true. I know him and I know you. It's 100% true. Donald, thank you for coming through. We got Shadow Complex on Twitter up another 100 followers. You're at a little over 900 right now. So we'll give away another code. This one going to Patreon user Kevin. Not our Kevin. It's not you, Kevin. It's a different Kevin. Another Kevin has won a code for the Xbox One version of Shadow Complex Remastered, which is coming to PC and PS4 in May.
Yeah, so
And on Xbox
it's on
One.
Xbox One today, PS4 and Steam in May. And then also, we started to hint it. I know I didn't tell you much about Spyjinx, but Spyjinx, we are starting to, if you go to spyjinx.com, we're starting to take people registering for a beta that we will be announcing at some point, and that we will be telling you more about the game, a few months from now. And it's going to be crazy awesome. So
Well,
if you want to go check it out, check it
And
out.
for the love of all that is holy, buy Shadow Complex.
we want Shadow
Send
Complex
the right
too.
message.
It's pretty much all done. He could easily just ship all these documents to Bluepoint or somebody and they would just do it.
Buy it.
Yeah, that totally works and makes it totally awesome and refined. And
That's
it's
exactly
really
what you
easy.
want. Ship it off to a
Yeah,
third
yeah,
party. They'll do
yeah.
it for you.
Yeah.
You'll find somebody. Kevin will do it for you. Just send it to Kevin.
It would be amazing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Donald, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
thank you very
Have a
much.
great GDC,
All
man.
right, thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
Whoa, Greg. That was a fascinating interview.
It was. I
Yes.
don't want to lie. I'm pretty good at this.
You're really good at this. I just keep, I like being the second fiddle. I like just being there and having someone actually know what they're doing, and I
Yeah.
can just kind of say like stupid shit every once in a while.
I like
I'm
you being
really good at that.
I like you being my second fiddle because I'm not gonna name names. I've had a broken, out of tune fiddle for a long time now, and
He's right a lot though.
yeah,
fiddle.
but I mean, it's
A
just
broken
like,
fiddle's right twice a day.
It's like I'm playing the fiddle now. Oh, you didn't thank me in your award. It's like, all right, buddy. I don't see you thanking me all the time in your tweets.
He's pretty good at tweets. He is.
Yeah.
That second
Yeah,
fiddle.
if you want some really heady tweets that are about like the Republican Party, it's great, I guess.
Go Islanders.
It's like I keep walking this taco joint expecting tacos, and he just keeps giving me rice-a-roni, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
I fucking love rice-a-roni.
That's a San Francisco treat. You grew up on it out
Oh
here.
my God,
Are you
I did.
aware that for real, like when you talk to the rest of the country about San Francisco, the place you're from, and now that I've been here for
Forever.
9 years, my place too. Mm-hmm. You talk to anybody else, it's rice-a-roni they talk about, and then it's about the gay. That's all anyone, and the Golden Gate Bridge, but nobody talks about that.
Really?
I mean, they talk
That's
about
not the talk of the town. You're
When
telling me people are standing around the street corners like, hey, what's up with that rice-a-roni and the gays? But they're not talking about our beautiful bridge, our big beautiful bridge.
They talk enough about it, but like it's not as no. It's really all about Rice-A-Roni. And then how progressive we are.
I'm gonna be real
And we're amazing.
about this.
Yeah.
I love the city that I'm from.
Yeah. City by the Bay.
Yesterday, I saw a picture on the internet where it was one of those before and after, and it was like 10 years ago, this cop stopped this guy from jumping off the bridge.
Yeah.
And this is him 10 years later, and it was like the cop seeing him for the first time in 10 years.
Oh, that sounds
and the
really
guy
touching.
has like two kids now, and he's like, has a great ass
Yeah?
life and stuff. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm taking credit for this for some reason.
I was
'cause
gonna
of
say,
pride.
I'm from Chicago, and if you're about to jump off a bridge in Chicago, the cops push you. They're like, we don't have time for this. We have to get to Portillo's. And
That's
we're really upset about the Bears.
Holy shit.
It's a depressing, windy
Well,
place.
ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first ever episode 64 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Join us on our, WrestleMania, there's the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
With the Kind of Funny Gamescast, we are on the road to episode 69. We're on the way.
Are you going to have
We're getting
anything
close.
up your sleeve for 69?
I haven't planned
Have
it
you
yet.
laid it out? Is it?
No, who knows when it's happening.
Okay.
So I'm saying something will happen now, probably won't, but at the very least, I can promise you I'll be really excited when I say it.
You scared me because we had a moment there where I thought our minds were in perfect sync. Because I was literally thinking right before you started talking and I was finishing up my thing about how cool it would be if the mics hung like this, like we were in rings, and then you started talking about WrestleMania. And I was like, oh my God, are we becoming one right now?
Kevin, get on it. Until next time, I love you.
For episode 69, I want it like this.
That would make sense,
I know.
actually. I like it.
I thought that these are going up as one stitch together podcast. So fuck you, Kevin. That's my outro. And if you need one, fuck Kevin Coelho. Tweet at him at Kind of Funny Kevin and tell him fuck you. So Kevin, future Kevin, not real Kevin now. I'm sorry, future Kevin, that I did this to you. There you go. All right.
Fuck you, future Kevin. I hope
Future
you're
Kevin.
not dead. That'd be sad if future Kevin
But I
was
mean,
dead.
future Kevin wouldn't be watching this. I hope everything's great. I hope Paula didn't dump you, future Kevin. I hope you have both hands still, future Kevin.
Future Kevin. She's not going to dump you.
I hope you got a new belt by now, future Kevin. Yeah, you're doing this bit that no one will see. All right, here we go. Sorry.